first person to tell me my wedding was over was my florist. Her voicemail arrived at 4:17 on a Thursday afternoon while I was standing in a hotel conference room, stacking laminated name cards beside a bowl of sweating peppermints. "Claire, honey, I'm so sorry. I just saw your email. I wish you and Ben the best, obviously. I'll look at the contract tonight and see what portion of the deposit I can return. I listened twice because sometimes a sentence becomes less insane on repetition. It didn't. 3 more notifications appeared. The photographer, the caterer, Hawthorne River Lodge. The lodge's message was only 4 lines long. They had accepted my cancellation. Per my request, they had offered October 12th to the next couple on their waiting list. That couple had accepted. My wedding date was gone. Then Ben texted, "Are you coming home?" I called him. He answered on the 5th ring. "Ben, something happened to the wedding email." For a moment, all I heard was his breathing. "Your mother already explained," he said. "Explained what?" "That you never wanted me." The conference room door opened behind me, and 23 regional account managers came pouring in for the closing session, carrying canvas tote bags and complaining about the air conditioning. I pressed one finger into my other ear. "My mother told you that?" "Claire, just come home. Did you cancel the wedding?" A chair scraped across the carpet. Somebody laughed too loudly near the coffee station. "No," Ben said. "Apparently you did." He hung up. I stood there holding the phone so tightly that the edge of the case left a groove in my palm. "Claire?" My manager, Denise, touched my elbow. She was still wearing her conference badge even though everybody in the room knew who she was. Denise wore badges until the minute an event ended, as if she might be escorted out of her own meeting without proof of identity. "You okay? My wedding got canceled." She blinked. "Today? 6 weeks from now." "No, I mean..." She glanced at my phone. "Never mind. Do you need to go?" I looked at the stack of evaluation forms waiting to be distributed. That was my first instinct. Not Ben, not my mother. The forms. I should finish the session. Denise took them out of my hands. "This is why nobody knows when you're having a nervous breakdown. You keep holding office supplies." "I'm not having a nervous breakdown." "Great. Go home before you start one." I left through the service hallway because I didn't want 23 account managers asking whether they could do anything. The honest answer would have been yes, somebody could give me back October 12th, but that seemed outside the scope of regional sales. In the parking garage, I opened the wedding account on my phone. The inbox was almost empty. Sophie had cleaned it up 2 days earlier while updating the guest spreadsheet, putting confirmations into folders with cheerful names like food and flowers and people who still haven't answered. There was nothing in sent, nothing in trash. I searched cancel. 5 replies came up, each beginning with some variation of, "We're sorry to hear this." The original messages beneath them had been deleted, but the quoted text remained. "Due to a private change in circumstances, I need to cancel our wedding scheduled for October 12th. Please communicate only with me regarding refunds. Ben is not in a position to discuss this yet." I read that last sentence until it blurred. I would never write "Ben is not in a position." That sounded like something printed beneath a photograph of a disgraced politician. The email to the lodge was sent at 11:08 that morning. At 11:08, I had been in a ballroom 40 miles away, watching a consultant named Grant explain customer empathy with a clip art picture of 2 people shaking hands. Sophie had been at my house. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Then I called my mother. She answered immediately. "Claire, what did you tell Ben?" A pause. Not surprise. A pause. "Are you driving? What did you tell him?" "Pull over if you're driving. I'm in a parking space. Then stay there." "Mom." Her voice softened in the particular way it always did before she said something designed to sound loving later. I told him what I believed to be true. "You told my fiancé I never wanted him?" "I told him you had serious doubts." "No, you told him I never wanted him. He used those words. I was trying to keep him from being blindsided." "By what?" Another pause. "By the cancellation." I looked through the windshield at a concrete wall painted with a blue number 4. Someone had left an empty fast food cup on the ledge. It rocked gently in the garage breeze. Did you cancel my wedding? Of course I didn't. Did Sophie? Claire, this is not a conversation to have over the phone. That means yes. It means you're upset. My wedding was canceled from my email. I understand that. No, I don't think you do. I understand perfectly well. A sharpness came into her voice, then disappeared so quickly I almost doubted it. Come to the house. We'll sit down like adults. Is Sophie there? She needs a little space right now. I laughed once. It didn't sound like me. She needs space. Don't start. I haven't started anything. Somebody else is doing all my starting for me. Claire. I ended the call. Calling Ben again would have been the normal thing, the sensible thing. Instead, I called Hawthorne River Lodge, because apparently when my life caught fire, I checked the invoice first. A woman named Marisol answered. I knew her voice. She had walked us through the lodge in March, pointing out electrical outlets and joking that every engaged couple suddenly became deeply interested in extension cords. Marisol, this is Claire Mercer. The silence on her end lasted less than a second, but I felt it. Claire. I didn't cancel. Oh, that email wasn't from me. It came from your account. I know. I don't understand how yet. In the background, a printer started. Normal office sounds. I hated all normal office sounds. Can you undo it? I asked. Marisol exhaled. The waiting list couple signed the revised agreement at 2:30. They'd been hoping for that date since last winter. Can you tell them it was a mistake? I can speak to my director, but they haven't made a mistake. We released the date after receiving written notice from the contracted client, which is me. Yes. And I'm telling you I didn't send it. I believe that you're telling me that. It was a careful sentence, professionally kind and completely useless. We can talk tomorrow, she said. There may be other dates. I stared at the concrete wall. Okay. Claire? Yes? I'm sorry. I thanked her, because even then, I thanked people. The drive home took 57 minutes. I remember because the navigation screen kept adjusting the arrival time while traffic thickened, as if shaving off or adding 3 minutes mattered to the version of my life waiting at the end. I tried to call Ben twice. He didn't answer. At a red light, I opened our text thread. There were grocery lists, a photograph of a crooked lamp he wanted me to approve, and his message from that morning. Good luck today. Remember, Grant is just a man with a laser pointer. I had replied with a thumbs up. That was the last thing I had said to the man I was supposed to marry. Sophie's silver hatchback was gone when I pulled into the driveway. Ben's truck was there. The porch light was on, even though the sun had not set. Inside, the house smelled like coffee that had been sitting too long. My conference tote slipped off my shoulder and landed beside the shoe bench. A packet of branded pens spilled across the floor. I stepped over them. Ben stood at the kitchen counter with both hands braced against the edge. He was still wearing his work clothes, navy pants and a pale blue shirt with the sleeves rolled unevenly. One cuff reached his elbow. The other was halfway down his forearm. Our wedding laptop sat open on the table. Tell me what happened, I said. He looked at me as if he had been waiting to find out which face I would bring home. The lodge called me around noon, he said. They wanted to confirm where the refund should go, because my name is on the card. And? I said I didn't know what they were talking about. Why didn't you call me? I did. I pulled out my phone. 9 missed calls had arrived while it was silenced. 4 from Ben. 3 from the lodge. 2 from a number I didn't recognize. I was in the session. I know that now. What did my mother say? His jaw moved. Ben ground his teeth when he was trying not to answer too quickly. She asked me to come over. And you went? I thought something had happened to you. Something had happened to me. It just hadn't required an ambulance, so in my family, it apparently qualified as a decision. What exactly did she say? Claire. I need the words. She said you'd been having doubts for months. She said you wanted the wedding because you'd put so much work into it, but that wasn't the same as wanting the marriage. My fingers went cold. That's not true. She said you told her you didn't know if you could be a wife instead of somebody's caretaker. I turned away. There it was. A sentence I had said in my mother's car almost a year earlier, after Ben and I had argued because I'd left our anniversary dinner to drive Sophie home from a bar. Sophie had called me crying, then refused to explain why until I arrived. Ben had waited alone at the restaurant for 40 minutes. I had not been questioning whether I loved him. I had been questioning whether I knew how to love anybody without making myself useful first. I had told my mother because, for 1 weak minute, I wanted a mother. That was before we were engaged, I said. I know. It wasn't about not wanting you. I know. Do you? His eyes lifted to mine. I don't know what I know right now. The words hit harder because he didn't sound angry. Anger would have meant he had somewhere solid to stand. I walked to the table and looked at the laptop. The guest spreadsheet was open. Sophie had highlighted 3 names in yellow and left a note beside one of them. Needs veg option. She did this, I said. Ben didn't answer. Sophie was here. She had the computer. Those messages went out while I was at the hotel. Where is she? I don't know. Mom said she needed space. Ben gave a short, disbelieving breath. Did you talk to Sophie? I asked. She was here when I got home. I turned. What? She was packing a bag. What did she say that you'd explain? The room seemed to tilt, not dramatically, just enough to make every straight line look suspicious. And you let her leave? I didn't know I was supposed to detain your sister in the kitchen. You were supposed to ask her what she did. I was trying to figure out what you did. I didn't do anything. I can see that now. Can you? His expression changed. Not much. That was the terrible thing about knowing someone's face well. A tiny movement could become an entire conversation. I crossed my arms. Ask me. What? Whatever my mother made you afraid to ask. He looked down at the counter. Between his hands sat the ceramic bowl where we kept our keys. My ring dish was beside it, empty because the ring was still on my finger. Finally, he said, "Do you want to marry me?" Yes. The answer came so fast it almost overlapped the question. His shoulders lowered, but he didn't come toward me. Yes, I said again. I want you. I want our wedding. I did not cancel anything. Okay. I believe you. Then why are you standing over there? He rubbed both hands over his face. Because for 4 hours I thought you ended our engagement through a caterer. I was 40 miles away learning how to make eye contact with unhappy customers. I know that now. You keep saying that. Because I didn't know it then. I wanted to be furious with him. Some part of me was. Another part could picture him at my parents' dining table, hearing private pieces of me arranged into a shape that looked like rejection. My mother had known exactly which pieces to use. I pulled out a chair and sat. We have to call them. Your mother and Sophie? All the vendors. He stared at me. The date is gone, I said. Maybe we can stop the rest. Claire. What? Before you start fixing the wedding, can we please understand who canceled it? The laptop screen dimmed between us. I touched the trackpad. The spreadsheet brightened again, Sophie's yellow notes filling the screen in the neat, rounded handwriting of the font she always chose. Ben sat across from me. Where did your mother take her? He asked. I looked toward the hallway. Sophie's bedroom door stood open. From the kitchen, I could see the empty space beside the dresser where her suitcase had been. My parents' house. No, he said quietly. Your mother came here. She picked Sophie up before I got home. I thought about Elaine's pauses on the phone, the way she had said she understood perfectly well. Then I looked at the cancellation email again. Please communicate only with me. Ben is not in a position to discuss this yet. That sentence hadn't been written to protect me from Ben. It had been written to give my mother time to tell him who I was. I closed the laptop. Ben looked at my hand on the lid. What are you doing? If I keep reading that email, I'm going to start believing it came from me. That doesn't make sense. Nothing in this kitchen makes sense. The coffee maker clicked as its warming plate shut off. Neither of us moved. 6 hours earlier, Sophie had probably stood in that exact spot while the machine dripped, deciding which parts of my life could be returned for store credit. My phone rang, the caterer. I answered before I could think better of it. "Claire?" a man said. "This is Dominic from Pecan and Rye. I'm returning your message." I hadn't left one, but explaining that seemed ambitious. I didn't cancel the wedding. Across the table, Ben leaned forward and covered his eyes. Dominic cleared his throat. "All right. The email came from my account, but I didn't send it." "I see." Nobody saw. Everyone kept saying some version of that while clearly seeing nothing. Is our date still available? There was typing on his end. We haven't booked another event, but our cancellation policy automatically released the staff holds. I'd need to contact the team. Please do. I can. The issue is that your contract has been terminated. To reinstate it, there may be an administrative fee. Ben's head came up. "How much?" I asked. "I'd have to calculate it. Calculate it and call me tomorrow." "Claire," Ben said. I held up one finger. Dominic gave me a careful promise to look into everything. I thanked him and hung up. "You're thanking people for charging us twice now?" Ben asked. "I'm trying to stop things from getting worse. You don't even know whether we have a venue. People get married without venues. People also breathe before calling caterers. I'm breathing. You're vibrating." I put my phone flat on the table. "What do you want me to do?" "I don't know. Sit down." I am sitting down. "Then stop making calls for 5 minutes. You're the one who wanted to understand who did it, and you're calling Dominic. He makes very good chicken." Ben stared at me, and for one strange second, I thought he might laugh. His mouth almost moved. Then the moment disappeared. I hated Sophie for that too. She had made humor feel disloyal. Ben reached for the laptop. "Did you change the password?" "No. Do that." I opened it again. Sophie's spreadsheet appeared, still waiting for a vegetarian answer. I clicked into the email settings and changed the password from October on the River to something generated by the browser. A long string of symbols I would never remember. Ben watched me save it. "Who else knew the old one?" he asked. "You, me, Sophie, your mother?" I never gave it to her. That isn't what I asked. The question irritated me because it was reasonable. "Sophie might have," I said. "Mom helped with the invitation list. Elaine didn't help. She called you 40 times while you did it. She had addresses. She had opinions. That too." He leaned back. "Why would Sophie cancel the wedding?" I looked toward the open bedroom door. She wanted us to postpone. When? Tuesday night. "You didn't tell me that." She was upset. She said she couldn't imagine standing up in front of everyone and pretending she was happy. "So you offered to remove her from the wedding party?" "Yes." "And?" "She said that would be worse because then everyone would ask why." Ben nodded slowly. "Okay. I told her she could come as a guest, skip the ceremony, skip the whole day. I told her I'd invent food poisoning if she wanted." "What did she want?" I picked at the edge of my conference badge. Denise had been right. I was still wearing it. She wanted October 12th not to happen. Ben got up and carried the coffee carafe to the sink. He poured out what was left, rinsed the pot, and set it upside down on a dish towel. It was such an ordinary movement that I nearly cried. "And your mother?" he asked. "She said a wedding was one day and Sophie's heartbreak was happening now." He shut off the faucet. "Your mother used almost those exact words with me." "What words?" "She said Sophie was in real pain and you were too focused on schedules to see it. My schedule is the wedding." "I know." "No, I mean, that's the thing they wanted changed. It isn't evidence that I'm heartless. It's literally the subject of the argument. I know. Stop saying you know. Then stop arguing with me like I'm your mother." The kitchen went quiet. He dried his hands, even though he hadn't gotten them wet. "You're right," I said. "I'm not trying to be right. Congratulations. You are, anyway." That almost smile came back, weaker this time. He sat across from me again. What else did she tell you? I asked. Ben looked tired in a way I hadn't seen before, not sleepy, reduced. She said you'd been going through the motions. Based on what? The seating chart, the deposits, your lists. My mother believes planning means you don't care. She said you cared more about making everything work than about me. The cruelty of it was how close it sat to a real fear. I had been obsessed with making the wedding function. I knew when the rentals had to arrive and which table needed to be moved for wheelchair access. I had argued with Ben about whether he could invite 3 coworkers after the final count. I had spent 40 minutes choosing napkin colors and only 10 discussing the ceremony wording. But I had done those things because the wedding mattered. Did you believe her? I asked. At first, no. My stomach tightened. At first. Then she told me about the anniversary dinner. I looked down. The anniversary dinner had become family mythology. Not because anyone had apologized to Ben, but because Sophie had thrown up in my car on the way home, and Elaine still told the story as if that was the memorable part. What did she say? That you left me sitting there and weren't sorry. I was sorry. You also told me I shouldn't make you choose between me and your sister. I know what I said. She used things that happened, Claire. His voice stayed gentle. That made me want to throw something. And did she mention that Sophie called me crying and said she couldn't drive? Did she mention that Mom refused to get her because she had already taken her makeup off? No, of course not. You still went. Yes, I went. And that's the problem. I pushed my chair back, its legs caught against a grout line. My sister had been drinking. You could have called her a car. She was crying. She's always crying when she wants you to come. I stood so fast the table moved. Ben flinched, not away from me, but enough that I saw it. I picked up my phone. I'm going to my parents' house. Okay, you don't have to come. I'm coming. Why? Because your mother already told me what you feel once today. I'd like to be there when you tell her yourself. We took separate cars. I told myself it was because we might leave at different times, but I knew Ben wanted an exit he controlled. My parents lived 17 minutes away in the same beige split level they had bought before any of us learned to associate beige with surrender. Elaine changed the wreath on the front door every season. That evening, it was artificial sunflowers tied with a burlap bow. Ben parked behind me. He stayed in his truck until I got out, then met me at the walkway. Don't let her redirect you, he said. I know how to talk to my mother. He looked at the sunflower wreath. Fine, I said. I know how to eventually realize I didn't talk to my mother. The door opened before we knocked. Rick stood there wearing house slippers and holding a dish towel. Your mom said you were coming. Where is Sophie? Everybody's pretty worked up. Dad. She's in the den. The house smelled like meatloaf and onions. My mother cooked when she wanted the room to agree with her. Food gave her something to offer after saying things nobody should have to digest. Elaine sat on the couch beside Sophie. Sophie had changed into gray sweatpants and one of my old college shirts, which meant she had packed it from my house while I was gone. Her suitcase stood upright beside the fireplace. She had been crying. Her face went blank when she saw Ben. Why is he here? She asked. Ben stopped near the doorway. Nice to see you too. Elaine stood. We need to keep this calm. No, I said. We need to keep it honest. Rick hovered behind us with the towel. Does anybody want something to eat? Nobody answered. He folded the towel into a smaller square. I looked at Sophie. Did you send the cancellation emails? Her eyes moved to Mom. That was enough, but I waited. Sophie, Elaine said, you can explain. I'm asking her. Sophie wrapped her arms around herself. I didn't think they'd give the date away that fast. Ben inhaled through his nose. I heard the answer, but it took a second to enter my body. You canceled my wedding. I was trying to make you stop. Stop what? Pretending everything was fine. With me and Ben? With all of it. What does that mean? You've been miserable for months. No, you've been miserable for months. Her mouth opened. Elaine stepped between us before Sophie could answer. This is exactly why we needed time, Mom said. The wedding had become a pressure cooker. For Sophie. For this entire family. Ben gave a soft, astonished laugh. Our wedding wasn't a family vote. Elaine turned to him. I understand why you're angry. You told me Claire never wanted me. I told you what Claire has told me in confidence. No, I said. You took things I told you and built a weapon out of them. Her face tightened. That is a vicious thing to say. Did you know Sophie was going to send those emails? Rick stopped folding the towel. Sophie looked down at her bare feet. Elaine lifted her chin. I knew she felt something had to be done. That wasn't my question. I did not touch your computer. Did you know? I knew she intended to force a pause. Ben stepped closer. You knew before the lodge called me. Elaine looked at him, and that tiny pause appeared again. Sophie started crying harder. I thought once you weren't trapped by the money, you'd admit you were relieved. Relieved? You said you were scared. Everybody gets scared before they get married. You said you didn't know how to be a wife. To Mom. A year ago. Elaine's eyes flashed. You said it to me because it was true. I said it because I trusted you. You were asking for help. I was asking you to listen. And I did. I have listened while you've run yourself into the ground, trying to make this wedding perfect, while Sophie can barely get out of bed, while Ben, leave me out of the justification, Ben said. Elaine stared at him. Beside the fireplace, Sophie wiped her face with the hem of my shirt. I'm sorry about the date, she whispered. But if one email can end your relationship, maybe Mom was right. Ben went very still. I looked at my sister, at my mother standing in front of her, and at my father gripping a dish towel like it contained the instructions for surviving us. Then I slipped off my conference badge and set it on the coffee table between us. One email didn't end my relationship, I said, but it just changed this family. Elaine looked at the badge as if I had placed a dead insect on her table. What is that supposed to mean? She asked. It means Sophie isn't coming back to my house tonight. Sophie's head lifted. All my stuff is there. You packed a suitcase before I knew what you'd done, because Mom said you'd be upset. I am upset when someone finishes my yogurt. I don't have a word yet for this. Rick cleared his throat. Claire, let's not make permanent decisions while emotions are high. That sounds wise, Dad. Maybe somebody should have said it before my wedding was canceled. I didn't know about the emails. You knew Sophie was at my house by herself. You knew Mom went to get her. You knew Ben was sitting at this table being told I didn't love him. I knew there was a problem. You always know there's a problem. You just never know enough to be responsible for it. He looked down at the towel. It had become a tight white rectangle in his hands. Elaine stepped toward me. Your father is not responsible for what Sophie did. I know, Sophie is. Sophie recoiled as if I had raised my voice. I hadn't. And you are, I told Mom. I was trying to protect both of you. From me? From a marriage entered for the wrong reasons. Ben shifted beside me. You've never once asked me why I want to marry Claire. This is between me and my daughter. You made it between us when you told me she didn't want me. Elaine pressed her lips together. She liked Ben when he installed shelves. She liked him when he carried folding chairs into the garage, drove Rick home after a dental procedure, or laughed at her stories. She did not like him when he remained a separate person. I may have spoken too strongly, she said. You lied, I said. I gave him context. You gave him my private fears and called them facts. I was scared for you. No. You trusted Sophie's pain more than my answer. Sophie stood abruptly. Can everyone stop talking about me like I'm not here? I turned to her. Then talk. She glanced at Ben again. I wanted 1 month. 1 month until what? Until this didn't feel like you were rubbing it in my face. My wedding wasn't about your face. You didn't see yourself. Every package came and you'd bring it into the kitchen. Every night you and Ben talked about menus and music and where people were staying. I couldn't even sit on the couch without hearing about it. It's our house. I know that. Do you? I was going through the worst thing that has ever happened to me. Ben's voice was quieter than mine. So you took something from Claire. I didn't take anything. They can choose another date. The lodge gave ours away. Her eyes widened. That part, at least, was real. Already? The other couple signed at 2:30. Sophie sat back down. Elaine touched her shoulder. The lodge acted irresponsibly. No, I said. The lodge followed my written instructions. They should have called. They did call. Ben. Your plan accounted for that. Mom's hand stopped on Sophie's shoulder. I looked directly at my sister. Who wrote the part about communicating only with me? I did. Why? I didn't want them bothering Ben. You didn't want Ben to stop you. I knew he wouldn't understand. He understood enough to call Mom. How convenient. Sophie's gaze slid toward Elaine. Mom removed her hand. Ben saw it too. What did you think would happen when I called you? Elaine's expression hardened. I didn't know you would, but you were ready. I was trying to handle an impossible situation. You had an entire speech ready about why Claire didn't love me. It wasn't a speech. Was the anniversary dinner Sophie's idea or yours? Rick set the towel on the arm of a chair. Elaine? She turned on him. Do not look at me like that. You've heard Claire express doubts, too. No, I've heard Claire complain when you people treat her like a shuttle service, he said. The room went silent. My father seemed startled by his own sentence. Mom's face changed. You people? Rick rubbed his mouth. I'm saying this got out of hand. It was already out of hand when you sat in the kitchen and said nothing. I didn't know you were going to tell Ben she didn't want him. I said it may have come out too strongly. Ben nodded. It came out very clearly. Sophie covered her face. I'm sorry, okay? I waited. She lowered her hands. I'm sorry the date got taken. Are you sorry you sent the emails? Her eyes filled again. I'm sorry it hurt you. It was an answer shaped exactly like an apology, with the important part missing. I picked up my conference badge from the table. You can stay here tonight. Claire, Rick said. She can stay as long as Mom thinks she needs someone to take care of her. Elaine's eyes narrowed. You're punishing your sister for having a breakdown. I'm not punishing her. I'm removing her access to my house, where she has been living, for 3 weeks, as a favor. Sophie stared at me. You told me I could stay until I got back on my feet. I said that before you canceled my wedding. So now I'm homeless? You're sitting in Mom and Dad's living room with a suitcase. The word homeless landed where Sophie intended it to. Mom wrapped an arm around her immediately. Of course she can stay here, Elaine said. Good. But you don't get to throw her away because she made one bad decision. One? Do not turn this into a trial. I'm not. Trials involve questions. You already decided the verdict before I got here. I walked toward the front door. Ben stayed long enough to look at Sophie. You were living in the room across from ours, he said. You could have knocked on our door and told us you were falling apart. Sophie wiped her cheek. You wouldn't have postponed. No, he said, but at least the answer you hated would have come from us. Outside, the evening air felt too warm. The artificial sunflowers scraped against the door as it closed behind me. Ben followed me down the walkway. The porch light threw our shadows across Rick's trimmed shrubs. You okay to drive? He asked. I drove here. That isn't an answer. Yes, I'm okay to drive. We stood between our cars. Somewhere down the block, a lawn sprinkler ticked in steady half circles. Did you know my dad had that sentence in him? I asked. No. Neither did he. Ben rubbed the back of his neck. I'm sorry I went to your mother. You thought I'd ended our engagement. I still should have waited to talk to you. Yes. He nodded like the word hurt but belonged to him. I didn't believe her right away, he said. I know. I need you to understand that. I understand that she had to work for it. That isn't what I meant. It's what happened. His truck keys clicked in his hand. Do you want me to come home? He asked. The question scared me more than anything my mother had said. Home had never needed an invitation between us. Yes, I said. I just don't know what happens when we get there. Neither do I. We drove back separately. The branded pens were still scattered across the entryway floor. Ben crouched to gather them while I stood with my purse hanging from my shoulder, staring at the place Sophie's shoes had been. He put the pens into my conference tote. One had rolled beneath the bench. He reached for it, bumped his shoulder, and swore. "You okay?" "I've survived." Denise says I hold office supplies during nervous breakdowns. Denise is smart. She thinks you're imaginary. What? I've declined every invitation to bring you to a work event. She thinks I invented a fiancé to avoid team-building dinners. He stood with the last pen. Well, technically, you have evidence. I laughed before I could stop myself. It lasted 1 second. Then I covered my mouth, and tears came so violently I had to sit on the bench. Ben dropped the pen and knelt in front of me. "I'm sorry," I said. "For what?" "I don't know." He put his hands on my knees but didn't pull me toward him. He waited. Even then, he waited. "I want to marry you," I said. "Okay, I need you to know that." "I do, but I also need to know why my mother could make you doubt it." His hands went still. "We should get married tomorrow," he said. I thought I had misheard him. "What, courthouse, city hall, whatever? We get the license in the morning. We don't give them any more power over it. You want to get married tomorrow because my sister canceled the wedding today? I want to marry you because I love you and because you're scared. Yes, I'm scared. Aren't you? Terrified. Then let's choose each other." I looked at him kneeling among conference pens, his shirt wrinkled, one cuff still lower than the other. For one breath, I wanted to say yes. I wanted a legal fact nobody could revise. I wanted to send my mother a photograph of the certificate and watch every argument she had prepared become irrelevant. But that would make our marriage the reply to her lie. "I can't," I said. Ben pulled his hands away. "Not like this." "Why not? Because then they still decided when we got married." His face closed. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't want our wedding to be an emergency. It already is." "No, the wedding is damaged. We don't have to damage the marriage trying to save it." He stood. I hated how relieved my body felt when he took 2 steps away. I hated that he noticed. "I need some air," he said. "You just came inside." "I know." He walked past me and out the front door. I stayed on the bench, listening to his footsteps cross the porch. The truck didn't start. He was still out there, close enough to come back, far enough that neither of us had to decide anything yet. My phone rang in my purse. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the photographer's name. "Claire," she said when I answered. "I got your message. I haven't filled the date, so if you want to reverse the cancellation, I can hold it until noon tomorrow." I closed my eyes. "Thank you. There will be some paperwork, but it's fixable." Fixable. The word should have comforted me. Instead, I looked through the open door at Ben's shape on the porch steps and wondered which part she meant. "Can you hold it?" I asked. The photographer hesitated. "Until noon. After that, I have to answer another inquiry." "I understand. Do you still have the venue?" "No." "Oh." There was that syllable again. The sound people made when my problem exceeded the amount of sympathy they had budgeted for the call. "I'll let you know in the morning," I said. When I stepped onto the porch, Ben was sitting with his forearms on his knees. The porch light made the gray at his temples more visible. "The photographer can still do October 12th, I said. He nodded. "We don't have anywhere for her to take photographs, but she's available." Another nod. I sat beside him. Our shoulders didn't touch. Across the street, Mr. Pelham's garage door rose, stopped halfway, then lowered again. He'd been threatening to replace that motor since we moved in. "What did you mean when you said I looked relieved?" I asked. Ben stared at the street. "I didn't say that. You looked like you thought it." "I thought you were relieved when I stepped back. I was scared. So was I. I'm not scared of you. I know." "Do you?" He turned to me. "Claire, you keep asking me that like there's a right answer that fixes today. There isn't. Then stop testing every sentence." I pressed my palms together between my knees. "I don't want to fight with you," I said. "I don't want to be another thing you manage. That isn't fair. No, it's not. But it's what I'm afraid of." I looked at the dark window across the porch. Our reflections sat side by side, close enough to seem comfortable from the street. Ben rubbed his thumb against a scratch on his keyring. "Your mom didn't convince me you never loved me." Then what did she convince you of? That you might keep choosing the hardest version of everything because it lets you be useful. The sentence went into me cleanly. That sounds like her. It sounds like me. I stood. He caught my wrist, then released it immediately. Please don't leave in the middle of this. I'm going inside. That's not what I meant. I know what you meant, do you? I looked down at him. Now who's testing sentences? He leaned back and stared at the porch ceiling. I went inside because I needed water and because staying would have made me say something built to hurt him. The kitchen light was still on. I filled a glass, drank half, then poured the rest down the sink because my stomach had tightened around it. Ben came in a few minutes later and locked the door behind him. We did not solve anything. We brushed our teeth together without looking at each other. I changed in the bedroom while he stood in the hall, waiting as if I were occupying a public restroom. When I told him he could come in, he took a pillow from the bed. You don't have to sleep on the couch. I don't think either of us is going to sleep. Then you cannot sleep here. He looked towards Sophie's room. Not in there, I said. I wasn't going to. The idea of him sleeping in the room she had used felt grotesque, like we were dividing the spoils of an eviction. He carried the pillow to the couch. I lay in our bed with the photographer's deadline repeating in my head. At some point, a cabinet opened in the kitchen. Water ran. The couch creaked. I considered going out there 4 separate times. I stayed where I was. At 6:12, Sophie texted, I need clothes for work and my charger. Can Dad bring me? I stared at the message until another appeared. I won't come in if you don't want me to. That was Sophie's specialty, offering a version of consideration after making it unnecessary. I typed, Dad can bring you at 8. You can collect what you need. We'll arrange the rest later. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then returned. Can I please talk to you alone? Not today. The dots disappeared. In the kitchen, Ben was making coffee. He had folded the blanket from the couch and placed it over the back as neatly as if he had been a guest. Sophie's coming at 8, I said. He measured grounds into the filter. Do you want me here? Yes. Do you want me in the room? I don't know. Okay. I'm tired of not knowing. He closed the coffee tin. I'm not asking you to know everything. It feels like everyone is. I asked where you want me standing while your sister gets pants. I know. He turned on the machine. I checked the wedding account. The florist could reinstate our order with a smaller arrangement because some of the flowers had already been reassigned. Dominic's overnight message said he was contacting staff. The officiant had responded with one sentence, please call when you're ready. Marisol from the lodge had sent available alternatives, a Friday in January, 2 Sundays in March, 1 Saturday the following August. I tilted the screen toward Ben. He read the dates. January. The photographer is already booked that day, so we find another photographer. I like ours. I like October. So do I. The coffee began dripping behind him. Ben scrolled through the message again. What if we keep the date and find another place? In 3 weeks? 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks yesterday. Apparently time continues during disasters. Helpful. You said courthouse yesterday. Now you want another venue. I'm trying to offer options. I don't need options yet. What do you need? I looked at him. For this not to be happening. He nodded once, then poured coffee into 2 mugs. At 8 precisely, Rick's sedan stopped at the curb. Sophie sat in the passenger seat wearing yesterday's sweatpants and my college shirt. Her hair was pulled into a knot. She looked smaller than she had at my parents' house, which made me angry because my body still knew how to feel sorry for her. Rick came up the walkway first. Your mother wanted to come, he said when I opened the door. I'm glad she didn't. She didn't sleep. I didn't either. He looked past me at Ben, who stood in the kitchen holding a coffee mug. Morning, Ben, Rick. Sophie waited beside the car until Dad waved. She carried an empty canvas bag and kept her eyes on the ground. You have 30 minutes, I told her. She nodded. When she passed me, I smelled my own shampoo. She had used the bottle from our guest bathroom before leaving, another tiny piece of the morning that existed before I knew my life had changed. She walked straight to the bedroom. Rick lowered his voice. "Your mom's in bad shape. Then stay with her. She thinks you hate her. I don't have time to decide how I feel about her. She made a terrible mistake. She made several choices. You know what I mean. I'm starting to think I never know what any of you mean." He sighed. "This family can't function with everyone drawing lines in the sand. Then stop asking me to erase mine." Ben moved toward the back door. "I'll give you 2 privacy." "You don't have to," I said. "I need to take the recycling out." The bin was empty. We both knew it. He carried it outside anyway. Rick watched him go. "He's angry. Very observant. I mean, at you too." "I know. Your mother said he pushed you to leave Sophie stranded that night at the bar. My mother wasn't at the restaurant." "No, but you told her." "I told her we argued. You and Ben have had problems." "Of course we've had problems. That doesn't make our relationship available for family editing." He rubbed both hands over his face. "I'm not saying it does. You sat there last night like Mom had thrown a grenade into the room and manners required you not mention it. I was shocked." "Were you?" "Yes." "Did you know Sophie wanted to force a postponement?" He looked toward the hall. "That was my answer. How much did you know?" "Your mother said Sophie was talking about doing something dramatic, and I said not to encourage her. You said that to Mom?" "Yes." "What did she say?" "That Sophie needed to feel like somebody was on her side." I laughed without humor. "So you went to bed?" "I didn't think she meant canceling the wedding. You never think she means the thing she's saying until somebody else has to live with it." Sophie appeared in the hallway holding the canvas bag against her chest. "I need another bag," she said. "You can take one from the closet." She hesitated. "Can we talk? Dad said Mom encouraged you." Rick looked at the ceiling. Sophie's face tightened. "I didn't say Mom made me do it. That wasn't my question. She agreed the wedding should be postponed. Did she tell you what to write?" "No." "Did she tell you to keep Ben out of the emails?" "No." Sophie shifted the bag. "That was me. Did she know when you pressed send?" Sophie looked at Dad. He turned away. "She was on the phone," Sophie said. My chest went hollow. "While you sent them?" "She didn't tell me to do it. Was she on the phone?" "Yes." Rick sat heavily on the edge of the shoe bench. Sophie's eyes filled. "I'm not blaming her. I made the decision. It was the first clean thing she had said. For a second, I saw my sister instead of what she had done." Then she added, "But she understood why." There she was. I opened the hall closet and gave her another bag. "You have 30 days to get everything out of that room," I said. Her mouth parted. 30 days? You won't be staying here during them. We'll schedule times for you to pack. Claire, come on. You used access to my home to impersonate me. I said I was sorry. You said you were sorry the date got taken. What else do you want me to say?" "The truth would be a start." "I told you the truth." "No." "You told me who typed. I want to know why my happiness required your permission." She stared at me, suddenly dry-eyed. "I don't know," she whispered. I believed her. That was worse than another excuse. The photographer called at 11:48. Ben and I sat together at the kitchen table when I answered. "I need to release the hold," I said. Ben reached across the table and put his hand beside mine. "Not over it." "Are you sure?" she asked. I looked at him. He nodded, but he didn't answer for me. "Yes," I said. "This decision is from both of us." When the call ended, October 12th belonged to no version of our wedding. This time, at least, we had been in the same room when it disappeared. Ben left his hand on the table after the call. I looked at it instead of him. There was a pale band around his wrist where his watch usually sat. He had taken it off sometime during the night, which meant he had expected to sleep and failed. "Are we still engaged?" he asked. The question was so quiet I almost pretended not to hear it. "I am. That isn't what I asked." "Yes, we're still engaged. Unless you're not." "I am." Okay. Neither of us smiled. I opened the spreadsheet where I had tracked wedding payments. The lodge deposit sat in a green cell because green meant paid. The photographer was green, the florist, the caterer, the rentals. I changed the lodge cell to red. Ben closed the laptop. "Please don't," I said. "We just canceled the photographer. We released a hold. That's what canceling is when we do it." I pulled the laptop back toward me. "I need to know how much money we've lost. We don't know yet. That's why I'm making a list." "You already have a list. I'm updating it." Claire. "What?" "You're doing the thing." "What thing?" "Turning this into a set of tasks so nobody can tell you're bleeding." "I'm not bleeding. I'm calculating. That's the same thing with better margins." I pushed my chair away. "You don't get to criticize how I handle this after believing my mother." He flinched. I wanted to take it back. Instead, I watched it reach him. "You're right," he said. "No, you are. I said it to hurt you. That doesn't make it untrue." He walked out of the kitchen. This time he went to the garage. He didn't slam the door, which somehow made me feel worse. Ben had never slammed a door in the 5 years I'd known him. He closed them firmly enough to create privacy and gently enough to deny me the satisfaction of calling him dramatic. I reopened the spreadsheet. The caterer's administrative fee was $600. The lodge deposit was $8,000 and marked non-refundable, although Marisol had promised to ask her director whether the circumstances changed anything. The florist would return part of our money once she knew what inventory could be reassigned. The officiant had never deposited our check. I entered every number. Then I added a row beneath the total and typed, "Cost of letting Sophie stay here." I stared at it for 3 seconds and deleted it. At work on Monday, Denise had removed my badge from the stack of conference materials and taped it to my office door. Survived Grant's laser pointer. I stood reading it until she appeared beside me with 2 coffees. I didn't know whether congratulations or condolences applied. She said, "So I got you caffeine." "Condolences." She handed me the larger cup. "Do I need to hate someone?" "Yes." "Good. I've been underusing that skill." We went into my office. Denise shut the door and sat across from me, waiting. My sister canceled the wedding through my email. Denise lowered her coffee. "I'm sorry. She what?" "My mother knew." Then she told Ben I never wanted him. Do I hate both of them equally, or is there a ranking system? I'm still collecting data. "And Ben?" "We're engaged." That pause before the answer was long enough for me to complete a tax form. He believed my mother for a few hours. Would you have believed his? No. The answer came too quickly. Denise watched me over the rim of her cup. Would his mother have had true things to use? I looked toward the closed door. That's an irritating question. I manage people. Irritating questions are our main product. She used things that happened. She made them mean something they didn't, and he eventually believed the meaning? For a few hours. You keep specifying the duration. It matters. Does it? Yes. Okay. You don't sound convinced. I don't need to be. I just need to know whether you're going to burst into tears during the 10:30 budget call. I'm not. Then I'll reserve the small conference room in case you surprise us. At 10:27, my mother called. I let it ring. A minute later, my desk phone rang. Nobody except Elaine and a vendor who sold us copier toner used my desk number. I answered because there was a chance she was copier toner. Claire. I leaned back in my chair. Mom, we need to discuss your father's dinner. What dinner? There was a silence of pure offense. His birthday dinner. Saturday. I had made the reservation 6 weeks earlier at a steakhouse Rick liked, the one where the menus were too large for the tables. I had also ordered a chocolate cake from the bakery near his office because he claimed not to care about birthdays but could identify supermarket frosting on site. You'll need to call the restaurant, I said. The reservation is under my name. We assumed you were still coming. Why? Because he's your father. He was my father on Thursday, too. He did not cancel your wedding. He knew you were encouraging Sophie to do something dramatic, and he went quiet. That is his preferred contribution. You're punishing him for not predicting an irrational act. I'm not punishing anyone. You canceled his birthday dinner. I'm not attending. You can still go. I don't even have the confirmation. I forwarded it to you when I made the reservation. I can't find emails the way you can. The sentence was so perfectly my mother that I closed my eyes. Call the restaurant, I said. Claire, this has gone far enough. It has been 4 days, and you haven't once asked how Sophie is. She found enough strength to send 5 emails. She is barely functioning. She went to work. Because she has no choice. Correct. My mother's breathing sharpened. You have always been able to compartmentalize. Sophie cannot. There it was. The family weather report. Clear skies over Claire, emergency warnings over Sophie. I'm done being punished for surviving things, I said. No one is punishing you. You canceled my wedding because you assumed I could handle it. I did not cancel anything. You stayed on the phone while she did. Mom didn't answer. Did you suggest the wording, I asked? No. Did you tell her Ben shouldn't be contacted? No. Did you tell her she was doing the right thing? Silence. Mom? She was panicking. I told her I understood. You told her she was doing the right thing. I told her that sometimes people need someone else to make the hard decision. I gripped the coffee cup. It had gone cold. It wasn't her decision. I know you believe that. No, that isn't an opinion. Do not use that tone with me. I have a budget call. Of course you do. She hung up. At 10:30, I sat in the small conference room Denise had reserved. Halfway through a discussion about third-quarter travel expenses, I realized I had been staring at the word variance for so long it no longer looked English. My phone vibrated under the table. Rick. I declined the call. It rang again after the meeting. I declined that one too. He left a voicemail. Claire, it's Dad. Your mom's worked up. I'm not calling about the dinner. Well, not only the dinner. I just want to say I should have asked more questions. I knew Sophie was talking nonsense, and I thought ignoring it would let it burn out. That was wrong. Call me when you can. He paused. And if you're not coming Saturday, can you send me the name of the bakery? Your mother bought one from the grocery store last year, and the frosting tasted like drywall paste. I laughed in spite of myself. Then I cried in the parking lot during lunch, which proved Denise should have reserved my car. When I got home, a locksmith's van was parked in the driveway. Ben stood on the porch talking to a man in a gray work shirt. What's happening? I asked. Ben turned. I'm changing the locks. You called a locksmith? Sophie still has a key. I asked her to return it. And she canceled our wedding from the kitchen. The locksmith glanced toward his van with the expression of a person reconsidering how slowly he could retrieve something. You should have talked to me, I said. I texted you. I checked my phone. One message from Ben at 2:14. I think we should rekey the doors. Sophie and Elaine both have copies. I'm scheduling someone unless you object. Below it at 3:06, he can come at 5. It was 5:20. I was working. I know. You still made a decision about our house without me. His face changed. I gave you 3 hours, so silence means yes now. No? He lowered his voice, but I'm not spending another night wondering who can walk into this house. The locksmith had reached the van. He opened the back doors and became deeply interested in a plastic organizer. My mother would never just walk in. Your mother came here Thursday, collected Sophie, and left before I arrived. She had permission from Sophie. Sophie doesn't own the house. I know that. Do you? The question landed between us, familiar and ugly. Ben looked away first. I shouldn't have scheduled it without getting an answer, he said, but the locks need to change. I looked at the front door. Elaine's key had hung on her ring for years. She used it to water plants, bring in packages, leave containers of soup in the refrigerator. Sometimes I came home and knew she had been there only because the dish towels had been refolded. Access had always been called help. Change them, I said. The locksmith returned carrying 2 boxes. He worked for 40 minutes. Ben stood beside him to test each key. When the man handed me mine, it was bright brass, its edges still sharp. "How many copies?" I asked. "3, Ben said. 1 for you, 1 for me, 1 spare. Who gets the spare? No one." He placed it in the kitchen drawer beneath the takeout menus. My mother called while we were testing the back door. I watched her name glow on the counter until the screen went dark. A minute later, a text appeared. "Your father says you're changing the locks. Is that really necessary?" I looked at the new key in my hand. For once, I didn't explain. I typed yes and pressed send. My mother's reply arrived almost immediately. "You've made your point." I didn't answer because that was the problem. She still thought the lock was punctuation in an argument with her. Ben put the screwdriver back into the junk drawer. What did she say? That I made my point. "Did you?" "I don't know." "Did you?" He shut the drawer. Mine was that only 3 keys exist. That's a fact, not a point. Facts are doing better in this family. I set my new key beside his on the counter. They looked identical, which felt briefly reassuring. "I'm sorry I snapped at you in front of the locksmith," I said. "I'm sorry I scheduled him before you agreed. You were right about changing them. You were right about asking first." We stood there, both technically victorious and completely miserable. Ben opened the refrigerator. "Do you want pasta?" "I'm not hungry. You haven't eaten since breakfast. I had half a muffin at work. That explains why you're ready to fight the appliances. I'm not fighting the appliances." "You glared at the refrigerator when I opened it. The light is aggressive." He took out mushrooms, butter, and the wedge of Parmesan we'd been saving for a meal neither of us had planned. I sat at the counter while he cooked. He didn't ask me to help, which was either kindness or self-preservation. The smell of garlic filled the kitchen. Sophie hated mushrooms and had complained every time we used them. Ben added the entire package. "Petty," I said. "Protein. Mushrooms barely have protein. Then it's petty." We ate at the counter. Halfway through, my phone rang. Elaine. I turned it face down. Ben twirled pasta onto his fork. "You don't have to ignore her because I'm here. I'm ignoring her because I'm here." He nodded. The phone stopped, then began again. I silenced it. "What happens with your dad's birthday?" Ben asked. "They go without us." "Are you sure?" "No." "Do you want to go?" "No." "Are you sure?" I set down my fork. "You're getting a lot of mileage out of that question. I'm trying to ask instead of assume. The words could have been a criticism. He delivered them like an explanation. "I want to go," I said. "I love my dad. I ordered his stupid cake 6 weeks ago. The good cake. He can taste grocery store frosting from across a room. I respect that. But if I go, Mom will spend dinner pretending nothing happened. Sophie will look sad. Dad will make a joke. I'll cut the cake because nobody remembered a knife. And somehow we'll all leave believing I'm fine. So don't go. I already said I wasn't." "I know. I'm agreeing with you. I'm not used to it. I've noticed." The next text came from Sophie. "Can I get more clothes Friday after work?" I wrote, 6 o'clock. "Dad can come with you." Her reply took a minute. "Mom wants to come." "No." She says some of her dishes are at your house. The dishes were 3 glass containers Elaine had used to bring Sophie lasagna. My mother had a catalog in her head of every container she had ever loaned anyone. She once drove 12 miles for a casserole lid. I typed, "I'll put them outside." Ben read my expression. "What? Your future mother-in-law wants her Pyrex. She's optimistic about the future part." I looked at him. "Too soon?" he asked. "Yes. Sorry." But I smiled into my water. At 5:58 Friday evening, someone tried a key in the front lock. Metal scraped metal. The knob turned once, stopped, then turned harder. Ben and I looked at each other from the kitchen, another scrape. Then the doorbell rang. I opened the door. Elaine stood on the porch holding her old key. Sophie and Rick waited behind her. Sophie's canvas bags were folded beneath one arm. Rick had the expression of a man who had accepted a ride without asking where everyone was going. You said Dad could come, I told Sophie. He did. I told your mother not to. I am not staying in the car like an animal, Elaine said. You weren't invited to the driveway either. She held up the key. It doesn't work. That's generally the purpose of changing locks. Rick studied the shrubs. Elaine looked past me. Is Ben home? Yes. Can we come inside? Sophie and Dad can. This is absurd. Then go home. Her mouth tightened. I brought your containers. My containers? The ones from Thanksgiving. Of course she had. A container exchange. Neutral territory for women who could not be trusted with each other's happiness. She held out a paper grocery bag. I took it and placed her 3 glass dishes on the porch table. Each one had its lids snapped on. There, I said. You could have let me know before I tried the key. I texted yes when you asked if we changed the locks. That did not tell me my key wouldn't work. Ben appeared behind me. That's what changing the locks means, Elaine. She turned her attention to him. I understand you're angry. You keep telling me what I am. Because you refuse to speak to us. I spoke to you Thursday, and you were hostile. You told me my fiancé didn't love me. I apologized for how that came across. He let out a breath. You mean the sentence? I mean the conversation. Did you apologize to Claire? This is not an appropriate place. It's her porch. Sophie pushed past Mom's shoulder. Can I please get my things? I stepped aside for her and Rick. Elaine moved with them. I blocked the doorway. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Her face was 6 inches from mine. I could see where her lipstick had settled into the lines around her mouth. You're enjoying this, she said quietly. My hand tightened on the door. What? You finally have a reason to be cruel, and no one can criticize you because Sophie did something terrible first. The words were so precise that they almost worked. My mother knew where every weak floorboard was because she had helped build the house. Ben stepped closer behind me. I'm not enjoying any of this, I said, then stop. That isn't the same as forgiving you. No, it isn't. Her eyes shone. But there is a difference between a boundary and humiliation. There is. Humiliation is when your mother tells your fiancé you never wanted him. Her face went still. I closed the door. Through the window, I watched her pick up the Pyrex bag and walk back to the car. She sat behind the steering wheel without starting it. Sophie packed for 40 minutes. She carried shoes, work clothes, makeup, and a framed print she had bought after moving in. Rick took 2 bags at a time to the entryway. Ben stayed in the kitchen. I stood in the bedroom doorway while Sophie stripped hangers from the closet. Mom's been impossible, she said. I didn't answer. She keeps asking me to tell her exactly what you said and what Ben said. That sounds difficult. Sophie glanced at me. She recognized the shape of her own language coming back. I know I don't get to complain. Correct. She talks about this constantly. It has been 8 days. I know. She folded a blouse, unfolded it, then rolled it instead. She says, if you really wanted to fix things, you'd come to Dad's dinner. I'm not going. He didn't send the emails. No. He just knew enough to look away. He said he apologized. He said he should have asked more questions. Isn't that an apology? It's a beginning. Sophie put the blouse into her bag. What would be enough? For Dad? For any of us? I don't know yet. Her eyes filled, but she blinked the tears back. That was new. You always know, she said. No. I usually decide fast so everyone else can relax. She sat on the edge of the bed. I didn't think the lodge would give the date away, she said. You've mentioned that. I know. I'm not saying it makes it better. She rubbed her palms against her knees. I thought you'd be furious for a week. Then you'd pick a new date. Mom said Ben would stay if he was serious. The room narrowed. She said that? Sophie nodded. When? Before I sent them. So this was a test. No, it sounds like one. She said if your relationship was strong, postponing wouldn't destroy it. And if it did, she'd be proven right. Sophie looked toward the hallway. Did you want us to break up? I asked. No. Did Mom? No. She likes Ben. That didn't answer me. She thought you were making a mistake. Because I was marrying him or because I wouldn't postpone? Sophie shook her head. I don't know. That answer sounded different now, less like evasion, more like the first crack in a story she had believed because it kept her comfortable. Rick appeared behind me. Cars loaded. Sophie stood and picked up the last bag. You have more here, I said. We'll choose another time. Okay. At the front door, she stopped. I am sorry I sent them, she said. Not just that the date got taken. I looked at her. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she added. Okay. Disappointment crossed her face anyway. She left. Saturday evening, Ben and I ate takeout on the couch, while my family sat at the steakhouse without us. At 7:30, Sophie called. I let it ring once, then answered. What happened? How did you know something happened? You called during dinner. In the background, a car door closed. I'm outside. Why? Mom told Aunt Lisa the wedding was postponed because you and Ben had been having problems. My hand tightened around the phone. What did you say? I said that wasn't true. I told her I canceled it. Ben muted the television. Sophie sniffed. Mom got mad. She said there was no reason to announce private family business. A laugh escaped me. She told Ben I didn't love him. I said that too. I closed my eyes. What do you want from me, Sophie? I don't know. I just thought you should know I told the truth. Thank you. She waited. I waited too. Can you come get me? She asked finally. There it was. The old reflex stood up inside me before I did. Where's Dad? Inside. Go back in and ask him for the keys. I don't want to go back in. Then call a car. Claire. I'm not coming. She was quiet for a long moment. Okay, she said, and hung up. I set the phone on the coffee table. Ben watched me. Was that hard? Yes. Do you regret it? I listened for the familiar guilt, the part of me that measured love by how quickly I abandoned myself. No, I said. Outside, somewhere beyond our locked door, my sister had to figure out her own way home. For once, I let her. The television stayed muted after Sophie hung up. On the screen, two people in aprons were pretending a failed pie crust qualified as an emergency. Ben picked up the remote, but didn't turn the sound back on. You would have gone, he said. For Sophie? A month ago. A week ago. Yesterday. I considered lying. Probably. What stopped you? She asked. He looked confused. She didn't say, I need a ride. She said, come get me. Like there was no other possible solution. That never stopped you before. No, I thought needing me proved something. What? I reached for my drink. The ice had melted into watered-down tea. That I was the person she trusted. You were the person she called. Those aren't always different. No. But they were tonight. I looked at him. Are you proud of me? The question came out sarcastic, and I regretted it immediately. Ben didn't react to the tone. Do you want me to be? No. Then why did you ask? I don't know. He rested the remote on his thigh. I'm glad you didn't go if you didn't want to. That sounds very healthy. Don't make fun of me. I'm trying, I know. Also, I am a little proud of you. Thank you. And worried. Of course. You've gone from doing everything for them to not answering the phone. It has been 9 days. I'm not saying you're wrong. You don't have to attach that disclaimer to everything. I kind of do right now. I leaned my head against the couch. What are you worried about? That I'm becoming the reason you stopped talking to your family. You're not. That isn't how your mother sees it. I don't care how she sees it. I don't believe you. I turned to him. He set the remote down. I believe you want not to care. That's different. Why does everybody get to tell me what I feel? I'm not telling you. I'm saying what I see. And what do you see? You checking your phone every time it lights up. You asking whether I'm proud when you say no to Sophie. You looking like you're waiting for me to tell you whether you did the boundary correctly. I hated the word boundary in his mouth. My mother had said it on the porch like an accusation. Sophie used it when she wanted to prove she had learned something. Now Ben made it sound like another project I could fail. "I'm new at this," I said. "I know. You wanted me to stop letting them walk over us." "Yes." I changed the locks. And I agreed, after I scheduled it. "What do you want from me, Ben?" He looked toward the dark television. "I want you to know what you want before you look at my face." The sentence sat between us. "I knew I wanted to marry you." "You did. Don't say it in the past tense. I'm not saying I don't want to marry you." "Then what are you saying? That our wedding was 6 weeks away and your sister canceled it because your mother decided she understood you better than you understood yourself. And for a few hours, I believed her because there have been 100 smaller times when you said you wanted one thing and did whatever your family needed instead. You're making her case for her." "No. Elaine said you never wanted me. I'm saying you wanted me and still didn't always choose us." I stood and carried my glass to the kitchen because I could not sit still beneath that truth. Ben followed, but he stayed on the other side of the counter. "Do you know why I offered the courthouse?" he asked. "To prove them wrong." "Partly. What's the other part?" "I thought if we got married right away, I wouldn't have to wonder whether your mother was right about one thing." My throat tightened. "Which thing?" "That when enough people are unhappy, I'm the plan you'll change. I set the glass in the sink too hard. It didn't break. I have defended you. I know. I left my parents' house with you. I know. I told Sophie she couldn't live here. I know. Then stop keeping score." He stared at me. "You're listing evidence?" That shut me up. Ben rubbed his thumb over the counter's edge. "I don't want you to cut them off for me. I don't want to win against your sister. I want a life where we decide things together before they're emergencies. So do I. Then we have to learn how." We stood in the kitchen with the remains of dinner cooling on the coffee table. "What does that mean?" I asked. "I don't know yet." It was the first time his uncertainty didn't feel like rejection. We agreed on one rule before bed. If either of us wanted to know what the other felt, we would ask and accept the answer unless behavior gave us a real reason not to. No calling Elaine, no reading tone into vendor messages, no using silence as consent because one person was at work. Ben carried his pillow back into our bedroom. He put it on his side of the bed, then looked at me. "Is this okay?" "Yes." "Do you want me here?" "Yes." "Are you sure? You get one follow-up question, not a deposition." His mouth moved. There was the almost laugh again, and this time it survived. A cardboard box arrived Tuesday afternoon with both our names printed across the label in silver script. Ben found it on the porch and left it unopened on the kitchen table. I knew what it was before I cut the tape. 150 cocktail napkins, cream-colored, stamped with CB and October 12th beneath a drawing of 2 branches. I had ordered them at 1 in the morning after deciding the plain napkins included with the bar package looked cheap. Ben picked one up. "Essential," he said. I was under pressure. "From the napkin industry? They know what they're doing." He held it against his chest. "I'll treasure this always." I laughed, then pressed both hands over my face. "Oh," he said. "I'm fine. That word has been suspended." I sat at the table. He sat beside me, still holding the napkin. "I spent $112 on those. We can use them." "When?" "Every October 12th until 2173. "At breakfast?" "Napkins are versatile." I took one from the stack. The date looked more permanent in silver. "We should throw them away." "No." "Why not?" "Because you ordered them. Because they came. Because pretending they don't exist won't change what happened. I don't want them in the kitchen." "Okay." We packed them back into the box and put the box on the top shelf of the hall closet. It sat above Sophie's remaining winter coats. Her text arrived that evening. "Can you send me the amount lost so far?" I opened the spreadsheet, then stopped. "Why?" "I'm looking at apartments. I need to know what I owe you before I sign anything. You need housing first." "I know. Send it anyway." The lodge deposit remained the largest uncertainty. Marisol's director had offered to apply half toward a future booking, but only if we chose a date within 12 months. The other half was gone. Dominic had reduced the reinstatement fee, even though there was nothing to reinstate yet. The florist had refunded most of our payment. The photographer returned everything except her original booking fee. I sent Sophie the current total. Her reply came 10 minutes later. "I can't pay that now. I didn't ask you to." "You should. We can discuss it after you move. Mom says charging me will ruin my chance of getting back on my feet." I stared at that sentence. "Then don't discuss it with Mom." Sophie sent a thumbs up, which was insulting coming from anyone, but especially insulting coming from my own habits. The next day, Rick asked me to meet him for coffee. He was already seated when I arrived, stirring sugar into a cup he drank black. A piece of chocolate cake sat untouched between us. "Leftover?" I asked. "Your mother ordered the grocery store one before I got your bakery information. We ended up with 2. You brought me the good one? I'm not completely useless." I sat across from him. The cafe was crowded enough to give us privacy. Behind him, a man in running clothes was conducting a video meeting without headphones. Rick pushed the cake toward me. "It was good." "I know. You should have been there." "Dad, I know. I'm not saying you were wrong. I'm saying I missed you." "The difference mattered. I missed you too." He nodded and looked down at his coffee. "Dinner was bad," he said. "Sophie called me from outside. She told Lisa everything. Mom told Lisa first. Your mother said you and Ben were postponing because you'd had problems." Sophie corrected her. "Mom called it private family business." "She did. Did anyone point out the contradiction?" "I did. That surprised me." "What happened?" She cried. Sophie walked out. Lisa asked if the reservation included dessert. Despite myself, I laughed. "Lisa believes all emotional crises should respect the dinner schedule," Dad said. "She always has." He stopped stirring the coffee. "I'm sorry, Claire, for missing me, for knowing enough to know something was wrong and deciding your mother would handle it." I waited. "I do that," he said. "She feels things strongly. Sophie feels things strongly. You stay calm, so I stand near you and call it neutral. I'm not calm, no. You're just quiet until you're alone." The man behind him said, "Let's circle back on that. Loud enough for 3 tables to hear." Rick slid the sugar packets into a straight line. "I should have stopped her," he said. "Which one?" He looked at me. "That's the problem, Dad. You still think the worst moment was an email being sent. There were years before that." "I know. Do you?" His mouth tightened. "I'm trying not to get defensive." "How's it going?" "Poorly." I took a bite of cake. The frosting was perfect. "Your mother wants me to ask when you'll talk to her," he said. "There it is. I said I wouldn't pressure you, but you agreed to ask. I'm telling you she asked. I'm not asking for her. That distinction is doing dangerous amounts of work." He sighed. "I don't know how to live in that house if neither of them is speaking to the other. So don't manage it. You make that sound easy. No, I make it sound like yours." His eyes lifted to mine. For the first time, I watched my father encounter a family problem without being able to hand it to me. He didn't like it. He also didn't argue. When I got home, Ben was sitting at the kitchen table with the wedding laptop closed in front of him. "I've been thinking," he said. My purse slipped lower on my shoulder. "About what?" "The lodge offered 12 months for the credit." "Yes. I don't want to choose a date because we'll lose money if we don't." "Neither do I. And I don't want to keep planning while every conversation about the wedding is really a conversation about your family." I set my keys beside his. "What are you saying? I want to stay engaged. I want us. But I think we should stop planning for a while." The room became very quiet. "How long?" "I don't know. That isn't a plan." "I know." I looked at the closed laptop. For months, every unanswered question had lived inside it with a deadline. Now Ben was asking me to leave one open. "Are you leaving?" I asked. "No. Are you giving the ring back?" "I didn't get a ring." You know what I mean. I'm not ending anything. It feels like you are. He came around the table but stopped before touching me. I'm asking us not to build the next wedding until we know how to protect the marriage. I wanted to argue. I wanted a date, a deposit, a green cell in a spreadsheet. Instead, I looked at his face before deciding what I felt. I hate this, I said. So do I. But yes. He held out his hand. I took it. The wedding laptop stayed closed between us. We didn't seal the decision with a kiss. Ben squeezed my hand, then asked whether I wanted dinner. I said no. He asked whether I wanted company. I said yes. We sat on the couch and watched a documentary about competitive mushroom hunting, because neither of us could tolerate fictional conflict. The wedding laptop remained on the kitchen table until bedtime. Where should we put it? Ben asked. The hall closet held the napkins. Sophie's room still held half her clothes. Our bedroom desk was where I paid bills, and I didn't want the wedding account staring at me while I argued with the electric company. Top drawer in the guest room dresser, I said. Are you sure? You used your follow-up question already. That rule only applies to bed locations. We did not write bylaws. We should. You like paperwork. I'm going to marry you just so I can divorce you. He smiled. That sounded almost like a plan. I carried the laptop into Sophie's room. The bed was stripped except for the mattress pad, empty hangers clustered on one side of the closet. She had left a mug on the windowsill with a brown coffee ring dried inside it. I opened the top drawer, and the smell of her perfume came out with a stack of old receipts. I put the laptop beneath them. Ben watched from the doorway without offering to take over. What do you want to do with this room? He asked. It's still hers for another 2 weeks. After? I don't know. Okay. He did not suggest an office, gym, storage room, or shrine to our excellent new locks. The room was allowed to be unanswered. That became the shape of the next few weeks. We asked more questions than we solved. Did I want him to come to the grocery store? No, but I wanted him to add coffee to the list. Did he want me to call when I left work? Yes, because dinner timing mattered, not because he was checking whether I had secretly ended our relationship. Did I want to wear my engagement ring to the office? Yes. Did he want to talk about the lodge credit? Not yet. Our conversations occasionally became ridiculous. Do you want the window open? He asked one night. Yes. Do you want it open because you're warm or because you need air? Ben, if we interrogate oxygen, we've gone too far. He opened it anyway. We went to trivia with our friends Rena and Dana on a Wednesday. Rena had invited us 3 times since the cancellation, always with the same message. No wedding questions unless you bring them up. Also, Dana believes she knows maritime law now. Dana had watched 2 seasons of a sailing show and spent the first round disputing an answer about international waters. Ben laughed so hard he had to wipe beer from his chin. For 2 hours, nobody asked me whether I was okay. Then Rena and I went to the restroom, and while we washed our hands, she glanced at my ring in the mirror. You don't have to tell me anything, she said. Then don't ask. I wasn't going to. I dried my hands. We're still engaged. We're not planning. Okay, that's it? Do you want me to react more? No. Then okay. I stared at her. She shrugged. You're allowed to know your own life before I do. It was such a small sentence. I carried it back to the table like a glass filled too close to the rim. Sophie's apartment application was approved on a Monday. She told me by text. It's small. Mom hates it. I take possession Friday. Congratulations. Thanks. 5 minutes later, she sent another message. I transferred $300. It's not much. I picked up weekend shifts. My banking app confirmed the payment. The memo read, wedding, which looked both accusing and absurd. You need money for moving. I budgeted it. I typed 3 versions of a response. Don't overdo it, sounded like Mom. You don't have to do this wasn't true. Good made me sound like a landlord. I settled on. I received it. Thank you. She sent no reply. Elaine called that evening while I was cutting vegetables. I almost didn't answer, but I had ignored 11 calls and 6 voicemails in 3 weeks. My silence had stopped feeling like space and started feeling like another conversation conducted without words. I wiped my hand on a towel. "Hello?" Mom inhaled sharply. "Claire." "What do you need?" "I would like to talk to my daughter without being asked what I need. I'm listening. You never used to screen my calls. You never used to cancel my wedding. I did not cancel it. You helped. I have apologized for my involvement. No, you apologized for speaking too strongly. Must every sentence be examined?" "This one does." On the cutting board, half a red pepper waited beneath the knife. "Sophie is moving into a terrible apartment," she said. "Is that why you called? It's on the 3rd floor. There is no elevator. She's 32. The laundry is in another building. She saw the apartment before signing. She is making decisions out of guilt. Maybe she's making decisions because she needs a place to live. She has a place here. Then why are you upset?" Mom went quiet. I could picture her in the kitchen, one hip against the counter, probably reorganizing mail while she talked. "She is working every weekend," she said. "She looks exhausted. She sent me $300. I told her you would understand if she waited. She owes us money. I cannot believe you're prioritizing money after what she's been through. The money is not the point. Then return it." "No." "Why?" "Because she chose to repay part of what she took. Now you're making her purchase forgiveness. I haven't forgiven her." Mom sucked in a breath. "That is an awful thing to say. It's an honest thing." She apologized. She started apologizing. "What more do you want?" "She humiliated herself at your father's dinner. She told Lisa everything. She told the truth after you lied. I did not lie. You and Ben do have problems. Every couple has problems. Not every couple stops planning their wedding 6 weeks before it." My hand tightened around the phone. She didn't know. Nobody had told her we had stopped planning. Who said we stopped? Another pause. "Sophie." "Of course." Information moved through my family like water under a door. It found every gap. "We're still engaged," I said, then set another date. "No." "So there are problems." "Yes, Mom. You and Sophie created one. I will not accept full responsibility for weaknesses that were already present." I set the knife down. "Do you hear yourself?" "I hear myself refusing to become a villain because I was worried about you. You were so worried that you gave Ben reasons not to trust me. I wanted him to understand the situation. You wanted him to walk away so you could call it proof. That is not true. Sophie said you told her if our relationship was strong, postponing wouldn't destroy it. I said a strong relationship could survive a delay. You didn't delay it. You lied to him." My mother's voice broke. I thought he would stay. The confession was so soft I nearly missed it. "What?" "I thought if he loved you the way he claimed, he would come find you. He would insist on hearing it from you. He did come home." Then I was right. "No, you don't get credit because your lie failed. I was trying to see whether he would fight for you. I didn't ask for a test. You never ask for anything, because every time I do, you decide I meant something else." The pepper sat on the board, its seeds scattered like tiny white teeth. "I love you," Mom said. I closed my eyes. "I know." "Do you?" "Yes." That's part of why this is so hard. She began crying, not loudly. Elaine's real crying was quieter than the crying she used during arguments. I could hear her trying to swallow it. I almost told her I loved her too. Instead, I said, "I'm not ready to see you. When will you be?" "I don't know. Your sister moves Friday. I know. She needs help. Then help her. She doesn't want me to." That surprised me. "Why?" "She says I take over." There was offense in Mom's voice, but beneath it, something smaller. Hurt, maybe. Confusion. She had spent years being thanked for taking over. "Ask what she needs," I said. "I have asked." "What did she say?" "She wants Dad to help with furniture. She wants me to bring cleaning supplies and then leave. Then do that. I'm her mother. Yes." "She's acting like I'm the problem." "You were on the phone." Mom went silent. "I have to finish dinner," I said. "You always have something to do. I'm cutting a pepper." She gave a damp, disbelieving laugh. For a second, we were almost ourselves. Then she said, "Your father misses you. I met him for coffee." "I know." She knew everything except where her permission ended. "I'll talk to you later," I said. "You always say later. This time I mean not now." I hung up. Ben stood at the other end of the kitchen holding a grocery bag. I hadn't heard him come in. "How much did you hear?" I asked. "Enough to know the pepper is innocent." I looked at the knife. She cried. "Do you want to call her back?" "No." "Okay, I do want to, but I'm not going to." "That sounds different. It feels different." He unpacked the groceries beside me. Coffee, bread, mushrooms again. "Are we becoming mushroom people?" I asked. "We're exploring an identity." Friday evening, Rick arrived with a rented dolly. Sophie came in behind him carrying packing tape, and Elaine remained in the passenger seat of their car. "She's not coming in?" I asked. Sophie shook her head. We agreed. Ben took the dolly from Rick. "What goes first?" The four of us moved Sophie's dresser, bed frame, and remaining boxes out of the room. Nobody mentioned the wedding. Nobody mentioned the locks. Rick made one joke about his back, then stopped when Sophie told him she could carry her side. "I know you can," he said. It was a tiny correction, but I saw her notice it. When the room was empty, Sophie stood in the center of it. Rectangles of clean paint marked where her framed prints had hung. The coffee mug was still on the windowsill. "You forgot that," I said. She picked it up. "I'm sorry," she said. "For the mug?" A faint smile crossed her face. "For all of it." I leaned against the doorframe. "Thank you for the payment. I'll send more next month. Get settled first. I can do both." There was a new edge in her voice. Not anger. Spine. "I know," I said. She looked at me carefully, as if checking for sarcasm. "Mom said I should stay with them until you calm down," she said. "I'm not asking you to move because I need time to calm down. I know that now." What changed? She told me not to sign the lease because I make bad decisions when I'm emotional. I said nothing. Sophie rubbed her thumb over the mug's handle. Then she asked me to explain what you and Ben were doing because she couldn't stand not knowing. And I told her it wasn't my business. That was almost funny. She saw it on my face. "I know. No, I'm glad you told her." "Are you?" "Yes." Sophie nodded. From outside, Rick called that they had everything. She walked past me, then stopped in the hall. "I thought being the one Mom worried about meant she loved me more," she said. "I'm starting to think it just means she doesn't believe I can do anything." The sentence hurt in a place I hadn't expected. "She believes you can survive whatever she saves you from," I said. "What does she believe about you?" I looked into the empty room. "That I can survive what she does to me." Sophie lowered her eyes. Neither of us apologized for the silence. She carried the mug out to the car. Rick secured the dresser. Elaine watched from the passenger seat, her face turned toward the house but unreadable behind the glass. Ben came to stand beside me. "What do you want to do with the room?" he asked again. I expected the answer to arrive now that Sophie was gone. It didn't. "Close the door," I said. He did. The door stayed closed for 4 days. On the 5th, Ben opened it because the air filter rattled in the hallway and the replacement filters were stored in the closet. He came back carrying one under his arm. "I opened the room," he said. "I can see that. Do you want me to close it?" "No." He waited. "I don't know what I want to do with it," I said. "We don't have to do anything. Rooms usually become something. It can be the place where the air filters live. That's inspiring. We'll put it on a sign." He changed the filter while I held the step stool. The old one was gray with dust. Ben slid it into a garbage bag and wrote the replacement date on the new cardboard frame. "You did that wrong," I said. He looked down from the ladder. "Good morning to you, too. The arrow points toward the return. It is pointing toward the return." I moved beneath him and tilted my head. "Oh, would you like to apologize to the HVAC system?" "I'm sorry I doubted your airflow." "Thank you." He climbed down, and I folded the step stool. It was ordinary, almost aggressively so. For the first time in weeks, ordinary didn't feel like pretending. We began using the empty room without naming it. Ben put a chair near the window and read there on Sunday morning. I brought in a folding table to sort mail, then left it for 2 days before putting it away. The closed wedding laptop remained in the dresser drawer beneath Sophie's receipts. I stopped feeling it through the wall at night. Sophie sent another $300. She did not call before or after. Rick texted photographs of his attempt to assemble her bed frame. In the first, the headboard was upside down. In the second, Sophie held the instructions beside his face while he looked offended. I replied, "Step 4 before step 3. He sent back, "Traitor." Then, a minute later, "Your mother wants to know if you'll meet her." I stared at the message. "Not yet." He answered, "Okay." No argument. No mention of family unity. I read the word 3 times because apparently respect was suspicious when it arrived without conditions. The first October 12th reminder appeared on my phone a week early. Final head count due. I deleted it. 2 days later, confirm rehearsal dinner menu. Then pick up Ben's suit. I had entered every deadline myself and forgotten to turn them off. My past self kept sending instructions into a future that no longer existed. Ben heard my phone buzz during breakfast. Another reminder? Final seating chart. Do you want help deleting them? No, I put them there. That doesn't mean you have to remove them alone. I unlocked the calendar and scrolled. I have 42. 42 wedding reminders, some repeat. You scheduled a reminder to remind you to confirm the reminder. That was one time. He pulled his chair closer. We went through them together. Call florist, final colors, confirm shuttle, ask Sophie about shoes. That one stopped us. Ben's hand rested near mine on the table. Delete it, I said. He did. When we finished, the calendar looked empty. I had spent months protecting those squares from work meetings, family dinners, dentist appointments, and every crisis Sophie might invent. Now nothing occupied them. "What do you want to do on the 12th?" Ben asked. "I don't know. Stay home? Maybe. Go somewhere? Maybe. Invite people over? Who? People we like. That's a short list right now. Rena and Dana. They count as 4 because Dana has several personalities during trivia. Maritime Dana is not invited." I smiled, then looked at the blank date again. "I don't want to act like it's a normal Saturday," I said. "Neither do I. But I don't want a memorial service for our wedding." Agreed. "And I don't want to spend the day proving we're happy." Strongly agreed. I closed the calendar. "Let's decide later." "Look at you." "What?" Leaving a square blank. "Don't ruin it." Elaine sent a handwritten card 3 days before the date. The return address was unnecessary. Nobody else formed capital E's like ribbon bows. I left it on the counter until Ben came home. "You don't need me here to open it," he said. "I know. Do you want me here?" "Yes." Inside was a blank cream card with 6 lines in Mom's handwriting. "Claire, I know this week must be painful. I wish I could undo my part in that pain. I love you more than any disagreement, even if you cannot believe that right now. I hope one day you will let me explain what was in my heart." Ben read it once and gave it back. "What do you think?" I asked. "You're asking what I think?" "Yes." "I think she apologized for pain, not choices." That's what I thought. "I also think she means that she loves you." That's what I thought too. Both things sat on the card without canceling each other. "Do you want to answer?" he asked. "No." I put it in the junk drawer beneath the screwdriver and the spare batteries. Throwing it away felt dishonest. Displaying it felt worse. On the morning of October 12th, I woke before 6. Ben's side of the bed was empty, but I heard movement in the kitchen. For one disorienting second, I thought he was getting dressed for the ceremony. Then I remembered there was no ceremony. I lay still and watched dawn gather against the blinds. By that hour, according to the schedule I had deleted, I should have been showering before the stylist arrived. Sophie should have been asleep in the empty room. Elaine should have been calling to ask whether I had remembered tissues. The smell of coffee reached the bedroom. I put on sweatpants and found Ben standing over the stove. He wore an old college shirt and plaid pajama pants. A streak of flour crossed his chest. "What are you doing?" "Pancakes." "You don't make pancakes." "I'm expanding." The first one in the pan had the shape and texture of an orthopedic insert. "You're failing. Growth is ugly." I sat at the counter. A vase of grocery store flowers stood beside my coffee mug. Not wedding flowers, daisies, sunflowers, and one bent pink rose. "These are terrible," I said. "I specifically asked for nothing bridal." They succeeded. My phone vibrated, a text from Sophie. "I know what today was supposed to be. I'm sorry. You don't have to answer." I set the phone down. Ben glanced at it but didn't ask. A minute later, Rick texted, "Thinking of you both." No need to respond. Then Elaine called. I watched her name fill the screen. She let it ring until voicemail picked up. She called again. "Do you want to answer?" Ben asked. "No." The third call came while he scraped the failed pancake into the trash. I turned my phone off. Ben made 7 pancakes. 2 were edible. We ate them with too much syrup, then took a walk without discussing where we were going. The October air was cool enough for jackets. We followed the neighborhood trail toward the river. Hawthorne Lodge sat upstream, out of sight beyond a bend. But I knew it was there. I knew another woman was probably having her hair done while another man searched for cufflinks. Someone else's flowers were arriving. Someone else's aunt was complaining about parking. "Do you think they know?" I asked. "The couple who got our date?" "Yes. They know there was a cancellation." "Do you think they feel guilty?" "Would you?" "Yes. That's because you believe receiving anything creates an obligation. It does sometimes. Not when you didn't take it." I put my hands into my jacket pockets. A group of cyclists passed us. Ben moved closer to make room, his shoulder brushing mine. "I let you plan the whole thing," he said after they were gone. "The wedding?" "Yes. You had opinions. I had vetoes. You chose the band. You sent me 4 options and a spreadsheet with sample playlists. It was a useful spreadsheet. It was terrifying. You liked the band." "I did. That isn't the point." "What is?" "I spent months telling myself you were planning because you liked it. Then I got resentful that you cared more about details than I did. You could have helped." "I know." I looked at him. He kept his eyes on the trail. "I complain that your family lets you carry everything. I let you carry plenty. You cook. That isn't the same. You handle the yard. You fix the bathroom fan. Still not the same." "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing. I'm saying I helped create the thing I was afraid of. You managing our life while I waited to see if there was room for me in it." A leaf caught beneath my shoe. I kicked it away. "I didn't know how to ask you to help without giving you instructions," I said. "I know. And when you didn't volunteer, I assumed you didn't care." "I know. You keep saying that, I know." I bumped his arm with mine. He smiled. The trail opened onto a narrow overlook above the river. We stopped at the railing. The water moved slowly below us, carrying leaves along its surface. By then, the ceremony would have been 6 hours away. "I still want a wedding," I said. Ben turned. "Not the lodge. Not 150 napkins." "That's unfortunate. We have those. I want to say it in front of people." "What?" "That I choose you. You can say it now, I know. But I want witnesses." His face was careful. "Why?" "Because my mother sat at her dining table and told you she knew my answer better than I did. Sophie acted like my yes had an expiration date if she was unhappy enough. Dad treated my silence like agreement. I wrapped both hands around the cold railing. I want to stand somewhere and say it where nobody gets to translate." Ben looked out at the water. "What do you want?" I asked. "A marriage." "That sounds like you don't want a wedding. It means I don't want to build another event so fast that we confuse it with repairing us. I'm not asking for fast." "What are you asking?" I took a breath. I'm asking whether we're still moving toward it. He turned fully toward me. Yes, he said, no hesitation, no follow-up question. I believed him. That evening, we went to Rena and Dana's house. They had set up a folding table in the backyard beneath strings of warm lights. There was pizza, cheap champagne, and absolutely no decorations with our initials. Dana raised her glass. To October 12th. Rena elbowed her. What? Dana asked. We weren't supposed to say it? You said we weren't making a toast. I changed my mind. Ben looked at me. I nodded. Dana continued. To the day that didn't become what it was told to become. That sounds like a threat from a fortune cookie, Rena said. I'm workshopping. I lifted my glass. I'll take it. We drank. Later, while Ben and Dana argued over music, Rena stood with me near the garden gate. I'm glad you came, she said. So am I. You know you don't have to be good tonight. I'm not. You brought dessert. That's basic manners. You brought 3 desserts. I didn't know what people wanted. She looked toward Ben. He was laughing again, head tipped back beneath the lights. What do you want? She asked. It was the question everyone had started asking me. This time, I had an answer. I want to marry him, I said. I just don't want my family anywhere near the decision. Rena glanced around her backyard at the folding table, the string lights, and Dana gesturing with a slice of pizza. Then don't give them access, she said. The sentence settled inside me. Not forgiveness, not punishment. Access. I repeated the word to Ben in the car. Access, I said. He started the engine but didn't put it in reverse. Are we talking about the wedding or cybersecurity? Both, apparently. Okay, I don't want to hide from my family. I want to stop giving them information they can use to participate in decisions that aren't theirs. That sounds reasonable. It sounds mean. It doesn't. You're biased. Definitely. I turned in my seat. Rena and Dana's backyard lights glowed above the fence. Through the kitchen window, I could see Dana stacking plates, while Rena took them back out of her hands and pointed toward the dishwasher. What if we got married here? I asked. Ben looked at the house. Not tonight, I added. I'm not suggesting we run back in and make Dana officiate. She would. She'd wear a captain's hat. She owns one. I know. Ben turned off the engine again. You want Rena's backyard? I think I want something like it. Small. People we trust. Food we actually want to eat. No seating chart. You love seating charts. I'm willing to make sacrifices. How small? I don't know. 12 people? 20? That's a large percentage difference. Don't spreadsheet my feelings. I learned from the best. He took my hand across the console. Are we deciding tonight? I asked. No. Good. Are we moving toward deciding? Yes. Good. We drove home. Rena called the next afternoon. You left your jacket, she said. I thought it was in the car. It's on my kitchen chair. Also, Dana says you looked at the backyard in a way she found suspicious. I leaned back in my office chair. What does that mean? She thinks you were measuring it. I did not have a tape measure. You don't need one. Your eyes turn into rulers. I looked through the glass wall of my office. Denise was speaking to someone near the printer and gesturing with a stapler. Would you ever let us get married there? I asked. Rena went quiet. You can say no. I'm trying not to scream. At me? In a happy way. It would alarm Dana. You don't have to decide now. Yes. Rena. Yes, you can get married here. You can get married next month. You can get married in 10 years. I will personally remove Dana's maritime decor. I haven't asked Ben yet. You asked him before you asked me, right? We talked. And he wants it? We're thinking. Then I am calmly available whenever you are ready. A muffled yell came through the phone. Was that Dana? I asked. No. Did you already tell her? No. Rena. She saw my face. That evening, Ben and I stood in the empty room with a legal pad on the floor between us. No spreadsheet. That was his request. I wrote 12 names. He added 4. We crossed out 3 because they were people we liked, but not people we would call if something hurt. The distinction reduced the list quickly. When I reached my family, I stopped. Elaine, Rick, Sophie. Their names existed in my head without reaching the paper. Ben sat with his back against the wall. We don't have to decide invitations tonight. If we invite Dad, Mom will see it as choosing sides. We are choosing sides. I mean, she'll think I'm punishing her. Are you? Yes. The answer surprised both of us. I set down the pen. Partly, I said. Part of me wants her to find out afterward and feel exactly as powerless as I did. That's honest. It's ugly. It can be both. What do you think? I think nobody is entitled to be there. That's not what I asked. He looked at the blank section beneath the names. I don't want Elaine there. The clarity of it hurt. Because of what she told you? Because if she's there, I'll spend the whole day watching her face, waiting for her to decide what your vows really mean. I nodded. Sophie? I asked. I don't know. Dad? I don't know. At this rate, we're inviting Denise and a mushroom. Denise would bring better gifts. I capped the pen. We agreed to leave the family names unwritten. Sophie invited me to her apartment the following Sunday. She said she had found another box of my things mixed with hers. When I arrived, she buzzed me into a narrow brick building above a dry cleaner. The stairwell smelled like steam and lemon detergent. Her apartment was on the 3rd floor, exactly as advertised. It was small, but not terrible. Afternoon light reached across the living room and ended at a kitchen barely wide enough for one person to turn around. Elaine's cleaning supplies occupied an entire counter. She bought all that? I asked. She said the cabinets smelled suspicious. Did they? No. Sophie handed me a box containing 2 books, a scarf, and a framed photograph of Ben and me at Rena's birthday the year before. I don't know how that got into my stuff, she said. Probably during one of your emergency moves. She looked down. Probably. The bed frame was assembled correctly. A lamp from my guest room stood beside the couch. I recognized 2 of Mom's throw pillows and one of Rick's travel mugs. Do you want coffee? Sophie asked. Sure. She moved into the kitchen, then stopped. I only have one mug that isn't dirty. I can use the suspicious one. Her mouth twitched. She washed the coffee ring mug from my windowsill and poured mine into it. We sat on the couch with our knees angled toward a low table made from 2 stacked wooden crates. She had always been good at making temporary places look intentional. I picked up another shift next weekend, she said. You don't have to report to me. I know. I just wanted you to know I'm not ignoring the money. The money isn't the whole thing. I know that, too. She wrapped both hands around her mug. Mom says I shouldn't pay you until you forgive me, she said. Mom thinks forgiveness is a coupon. I told her it wasn't her business. How did that go? She brought more disinfectant. I looked at the counter. That explains a lot. We sat quietly. Then Sophie said, I knew you wouldn't leave Ben. I turned toward her. When I sent the emails, she continued, I didn't think you'd break up, but Mom told him I never wanted him. I didn't know she was going to say that. You knew she thought I was making a mistake. Yes. You knew she thought Ben should prove himself. Yes. What did you think would happen? Sophie stared into her coffee. I thought you'd postpone. You'd be mad at me. Ben would be mad. Then it would calm down, and your life would feel less embarrassing. Her chin tightened. Yes. The answer was ugly and clean. I hated being in your house, she said, not because you did anything. That made it worse. You were nice to me. Ben made coffee. You asked what I wanted for dinner, and every box that arrived had both your names on it. I offered to let you leave the wedding party. I didn't want to leave. What did you want? She looked at me. I wanted you to choose me. I let you move into my house. I know. I left my anniversary dinner for you. I know. I have chosen you more times than I can count. I wanted you to choose me over him. There it was. Why? Her eyes filled. Because then what happened to me wouldn't mean I was the one nobody wanted. I put down my mug. My wedding could not fix what your former partner did to you. I know. Canceling it couldn't either. I know that now. You needed me to lose something because you had. Yes. She didn't cover her face. She didn't ask me to call it heartbreak or panic. She let the answer remain what it was. I'm sorry, she said. Not because the lodge gave away the date, not because Mom's upset. I'm sorry I decided your happiness was movable. My throat tightened. I don't forgive you yet. I know. But I believe that apology. She nodded and looked down at her hands. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't nothing. When I left, she did not ask when I would visit again. Elaine's voicemail was waiting in the car. I would like to meet. Just you and me. I will not ask about the wedding or Sophie. I want to apologize properly. Please let me do that much. I listened twice. Then I called her. We met at a diner near my office, far enough from both our houses that neither of us could retreat into familiar rooms. Mom arrived first. She wore lipstick and a navy blouse I had given her for her birthday. A glass of water sat untouched in front of her. You came, she said. I said I would. I wasn't sure. I sat across from her. A waitress left menus. Neither of us opened them. Mom folded her hands. I am sorry I told Ben you never wanted him. I waited. It was untrue, she said, and cruel. Yes, I was angry that you refused to postpone. I was afraid for Sophie. I believed you were ignoring how badly she was doing. I wasn't. I know. But you were still moving forward. That was allowed. Yes. The word cost her something. I thought you could survive a delay, she said. I thought Ben could survive being challenged. I thought Sophie could not survive being asked to celebrate you while her own life was falling apart. So you chose who could be hurt safely. Mom's eyes filled. I chose the daughter I believe needed me most. You always do. You don't understand what it is like to watch someone you love fall apart. I fall apart. I just don't do it where you can assign someone else to clean it up. She looked toward the window. I love you both differently, she said. I know. I have never loved Sophie more. You protect her more. She needs more. And I pay more. That isn't what I intend. It's what happens. She reached across the table. I kept my hands in my lap. I thought you would land on your feet, she whispered. You keep dropping me because you like the way I land. Her hand withdrew. The waitress approached, saw our faces, and walked past. I don't know how to undo this, Mom said. You can't. Then what do you want from me? I want you to stop calling harm love as if that ends the conversation. It did come from love. So did every time you told me to be patient. Every time you asked me to cancel plans because Sophie was hurting. Every time Dad stayed quiet because you were louder. I leaned forward. Love that requires one daughter to disappear for the other is still harm. Mom began crying. I let her. I am your mother, she said. Yes. You're supposed to know I would never deliberately destroy your happiness. I know you didn't want it destroyed. You just believed it was yours to move. She covered her mouth. For once, I did not hand her a napkin. I'm not ready for you to be part of my plans, I said. What plans? That question is exactly the problem. Her eyes searched my face. Are you getting married? Ben and I will tell you what we decide you need to know. The words sounded cold. They were also true. I stood and left money for the water neither of us had touched. Outside, the air had turned sharp. I called Ben from the parking lot. How did it go? He asked. She apologized. Do you believe her? Partly. Is that enough? Not yet. I looked back through the diner window. My mother remained at the table sitting alone with both unopened menus. I want Rena's garden, I said. Ben was quiet for one breath. So do I. This time, we chose the date together. May 17th was the first Saturday. Rena's garden would be reliably green, and the last one before Dana's annual campaign against mosquitoes became, in her words, a full military occupation. It was 7 months away, long enough not to feel like an emergency, close enough to feel real. Ben and I told Rena and Dana at their kitchen table. Dana opened a bottle of champagne before we finished the sentence. "I knew it," she said. "You knew we'd get married here?" Ben asked. "I knew the yard had ceremonial energy." "You called the maple tree diseased last week," Rena said. "Diseased things can be ceremonial." Rena took the bottle away from her before she could send the cork through a cabinet door. We set 3 rules that evening. Nobody would spend money they could not comfortably lose. Nobody would invite anyone without both of us agreeing. And if either of us began treating the wedding like a test of the relationship, the other person could say napkins, and the conversation had to stop. Dana wrote the rules on a paper grocery bag and taped it to the refrigerator. "What about maritime law?" she asked. "Not applicable," Ben said. Coward. Planning 12 names was different from planning 150. There was no guest spreadsheet. Rena counted chairs in her garage. Dana measured the yard by lying down on the grass and declaring that 6 adults could fit between the fence and the maple tree if no one had aggressive elbows. Denise agreed to come on the condition that Grant and his laser pointer were excluded. Ben invited 2 friends from work and an old college roommate. Rena and Dana knew a caterer who made trays of food meant to be eaten, not photographed. We chose a lemon cake after one tasting and spent more time arguing about whether Dana could wear a white suit than we did choosing flowers. "She asked permission," Ben said afterward. "I know." "And you told her yes." "I know. So why are you making that face?" "I'm learning that most wedding rules are just opportunities to control women through color. Should I be taking notes? Always." We laughed more than we planned. The lodge called once to remind us that the credit would expire. I declined it. Marisol sounded genuinely sorry, but I didn't ask her to keep trying. The money was gone. Sophie's monthly transfers arrived in small, regular amounts. I moved each one into the account Ben and I had used for the original wedding, not because I expected her to cover everything, but because accepting the payments mattered to both of us for different reasons. The box of October 12th napkins remained in the closet. By March, the garden had become part of our weekly conversation. Not the center of it. Part. Ben and I still argued. He changed our internet plan without asking because the promotional rate ended, and I accused him of making unilateral household decisions with the confidence of a minor dictator. I agreed to host a work dinner without checking whether he had plans, then defended it for 10 minutes before remembering I was wrong. "Napkins," he said. "This isn't about the wedding. I'm invoking the general spirit. That is not in the bylaws. Neither are the bylaws. We apologized. We adjusted. We did not call anyone else to explain what we meant. Telling my family became the one task we kept moving." "Are we hiding?" I asked Ben one night. "We're protecting something. Same behavior, different reason. How long before protecting becomes punishing?" He set down the dish he was drying. "Do you want them there?" "No." "Then not telling them the location isn't punishment. It will feel like punishment. To them and to me." He waited. "I want Mom to know there's a door she can't open," I admitted. "I want Sophie to understand that apologizing doesn't put her back beside me. I want Dad to feel what happens when standing near me isn't enough." "That sounds like punishment." "I know. It also sounds like consequences." "I know." Ben hung the dish towel over the oven handle. Both can be true. The rule was that we had to tell them ourselves. No group message. No letting Sophie carry information to Elaine. No letting Rick translate for everyone because he used a softer voice. I met Sophie first. Her apartment had acquired a small dining table and 6 plants, 3 of which looked healthy. The mountain of cleaning supplies was gone from the counter. "Did you use all the disinfectant?" I asked. I gave half to Dad. "Why?" "He stores batteries from 2004. His needs are greater." She poured coffee into 2 clean mugs. We sat at the table. She had paid another installment that morning. The transfers no longer included a memo. "Ben and I chose a date," I said. Her hand stopped around her mug. "Okay, May 17th. She nodded. "We're having a small ceremony. At Rena's?" The question startled me. I'm not asking for details, she said quickly. I just know you like her garden. I'm not telling anyone the location. Her eyes filled, but she kept her voice steady. Am I invited? No. She looked down at the table. I wanted to tell you directly, I said. Does Mom know? Not yet. Dad? No. Is he invited? No one from the family is. Sophie pressed her lips together. For a second, I saw the old argument gathering. If no one else was invited, then her exclusion meant less. If everyone was excluded, then perhaps the consequence had become too broad. She let the argument go. I understand, she said. Do you? I think so. You can be hurt. I am. You don't have to make it easier for me. Her tears spilled then. She wiped them away with both palms. I pictured being there, she said, even after everything, which is stupid. It isn't stupid. I thought if I paid you back and apologized correctly, maybe you'd trust me in time. I trust the things you've done since, but not enough. Not with this. She nodded. I'm sorry, I said. The words surprised me, but I meant them. I was sorry that the boundary hurt. I was not sorry for the boundary. Can I ask one thing? She said. Yes. Don't let Mom convince you I'm asking her to fix it. I won't. She will say I'm devastated. You are, I know, but it's mine. That might have been the most adult thing either of us had ever said to the other. Rick asked to meet at the same cafe where we had shared the birthday cake. He arrived with no food and no messages from Elaine. Your mother knows we're meeting, he said. I assumed. She doesn't know why. That's good. He wrapped both hands around his coffee while I told him. His face changed when I said May 17th. It changed again when I said he wasn't invited. None of us? He asked. No. Is that what Ben wants? It's what we decided. He nodded slowly. I suppose asking where would defeat the purpose. Yes. I'm sorry I won't be there. Me too. He looked toward the window. I had a speech planned. About what? Walking you down the aisle. I wasn't going to have anyone walk me. I know that now. The cafe noise moved around us. Cups, chairs, the man at the next table tapping a spoon against his saucer. I thought staying quiet kept me out of people's way, Dad said. It mostly kept me out of responsibility. I didn't answer. I'm sorry I let your mother tell Ben who you were, he continued. I'm sorry I treated Sophie's emergencies as weather and expected you to drive in them. I'm sorry I called you strong when I meant convenient. My throat tightened. Mom helped you write that? He almost smiled. She doesn't know I'm apologizing. Why now? Because I don't want to ask for an invitation. That surprised me more than the apology. I want one, he said. I'm hurt. But asking would make the apology a purchase. I reached across the table and took his hand. He squeezed mine once. This doesn't fix everything, I said. I know. But it matters. I know. He did not ask for the location. I told Elaine at her house because she refused the diner. She said she would not discuss family matters beside a pie display again. The sunflower wreath had been replaced by spring flowers. My old conference badge no longer sat on the coffee table. The meatloaf smell was gone. Mom listened without interrupting until I said she wasn't invited. Then she stood. No, it isn't a negotiation. I apologized. Yes, you said you believed me. I said I believed part of it. I am your mother. Yes, mothers attend their daughters' weddings, not this one. Her hand pressed against her chest. Is Sophie invited? No. Your father? No. Relief crossed her face before she hid it. The equality of exclusion comforted her, which told me I'd been right not to invite any of them. You're erasing your family, she said. I'm removing you from one day. One day? She laughed sharply. You were willing to tear us apart over one day, but now it's only one day? I didn't tear us apart. I'm getting married without worrying that someone in the room thinks my yes belongs to them. I would never disrupt your ceremony. You disrupted it before it happened. She began to cry. This is cruel. Maybe it feels cruel. Don't use that language on me. What language? The cold, reasonable way you talk when you've already decided I'm wrong. I have decided. She gripped the back of a chair. Where is it? I'm not telling you. Do you think I would show up uninvited? I think you would convince yourself that showing up was love. Her face crumpled. I wanted to hold her. I wanted her to be the mother who remembered my coffee and not the woman who had tested my fiancé with a lie. She was both. That was the worst of it. I do love you, she said. I know. Then how can you do this? Because loving you doesn't require giving you access. I left before she could answer. For the next 2 weeks, she called every few days. I answered once. When she asked for the location, I ended the call. She contacted Sophie, who refused to guess. She asked Rick, who told her he didn't know. She did not call Rena, either because she hadn't connected the garden to the ceremony or because some part of her finally understood how far one more intrusion would push me. The night before the wedding, Ben and I stood in the empty room. My dress hung from the closet door in a plain garment bag. His suit rested beside it. We had left the room mostly empty all those months. It had become a place for things that were waiting without belonging to anyone else. Do you want the napkins? Ben asked. No. Good. They have the wrong date. I touched the zipper of the garment bag. Are you scared? He asked. Yes. About marrying me? No. About tomorrow? A little. Your mother? Yes. He took my hand. What do you want me to do if she appears? He asked. Ask me. He nodded. Outside, rain began tapping against the window. The forecast promised it would stop before noon. I looked at our clothes hanging side by side. Do you still want to marry me tomorrow? I asked. Yes. No hesitation. Do you? Yes. The rain came harder. For once, neither of us tried to move it. The rain stopped at 9:13 the next morning. I knew because Rena sent a photograph of Dana standing in the garden in rubber boots, holding both arms toward the clearing sky like she had personally negotiated the weather. Maritime law, Dana had written beneath it. Ben was in the kitchen making coffee. I found him staring at the pancake mix. Don't, I said. I've improved. This is not a day for confidence unsupported by evidence. He closed the cabinet. Toast? Toast. We ate standing at the counter. My dress waited in the empty room. His suit waited beside it. The house felt quiet, but not abandoned. Nothing had been canceled. Nobody was about to be rescued. My phone lit up near the sink. Sophie. I hope today is exactly yours. I'm sorry I'm not there, and I understand why. I love you. I read it twice. Ben looked at me over his coffee. And do you want to answer? Yes. I typed, I love you too. I did not add that I wished she were there. Some wishes became lies when offered as comfort. Rick's message arrived a few minutes later. Thinking of you both. I won't ask for anything. I hope the garden is dry. I looked up. He knows it's a garden. Did you tell him? Ben asked. No. Rena? She wouldn't. Sophie guessed Rena's. She said she wouldn't tell. Do you believe her? I listened to the question instead of the fear beneath it. Yes, I said. I do. Ben nodded. I wrote back to Dad. It is. I love you. Elaine did not call. At 10, I took my dress from the room and hung it on our bedroom door. Ben carried his suit into the empty room. See you in an hour, he asked. Where are you going? To get dressed. You live here. You said you didn't want me to see the dress. That was 4 months ago. Do you want me to see it? Not until I'm in it. That seems reasonable. Are you making fun of me? A little. He closed the door. Rena came over to help with my hair, although neither of us knew anything about hair beyond keeping it attached. She arrived carrying a bag with curling irons, pins, hairspray, and 2 breakfast sandwiches. Dana packed this, she said. She thinks women preparing for weddings need equipment. She owns 3 curling irons? She bought 2 yesterday. That seems safe. It is not. My dress was simple compared with the one I had chosen for Hawthorne Lodge. No train, no beading that required specialized underwear and the assistance of a structural engineer. It was cream-colored, fitted through the waist, with soft sleeves and a skirt that moved when I did. Rena zipped it. I looked at myself in the mirror. For months I had imagined that moment with Sophie behind me, making a joke because she could not tolerate silence. Elaine would have adjusted my shoulders and said the dress needed steaming even if it didn't. Rick would have stood outside asking every 3 minutes whether we were ready. The room held only Rena and me. The absence hurt. It also left space. "You okay?" Rena asked. "Yes." She met my eyes in the mirror. "Do you want a follow-up question?" "No." "Good. Your mascara is expensive." A knock sounded from the hallway. "Can I come out?" Ben called. "No," I said. "Why? I'm not ready." Rena looked at me. My hair was pinned. My shoes were on. There was nothing left to fasten. "Give me 1 minute," I called. I touched my engagement ring. "Scared?" she asked. "Yes." "About him?" "No." "Then you're allowed." She squeezed my shoulder and left through the bathroom so Ben could come into the bedroom without seeing her. A minute later, he knocked again. "Claire, come in." He opened the door. His suit was dark blue, the same color he had chosen for the first wedding. He wore a new tie because the old one had matched flowers that no longer existed. One cuff sat lower than the other. I started laughing. "What?" he asked. "Your sleeves." He looked down. "What about them?" I walked over and fixed the cuff. When I looked up, his eyes were wet. "You look beautiful," he said. "You look uneven." I was nervous. I put both hands against his chest. His heart beat hard beneath my palms. "Do you still want to do this?" he asked. "Yes." "So do I." We drove to Rena and Dana's house together. No separate car, no aisle hidden behind closed doors. We parked on the street between Denise's sedan and a truck that belonged to one of Ben's co-workers. Guests had been asked not to post photographs or mention the location until we said otherwise. Nobody complained. Nobody asked what rule applied to them personally. At the garden gate, we could hear Dana directing people. The damp chairs are on the left. If you sit on one, that's consent. Rena hissed her name. "What?" Dana said. I disclosed the risk. Ben offered me his arm. I looked at it. "Are you walking me in? I thought we were walking each other." "We are." The garden smelled like wet leaves and rosemary. Rena had planted white flowers along the fence, but the rain had knocked some of them sideways. The maple tree was fully green. 14 people stood when we entered, close enough that I could see every face without searching. Denise held a packet of tissues in one hand and one of our conference pens in the other. "I came prepared," she whispered as we passed. There were no sides, no family rows, no empty reserved chairs designed to accuse anyone. Dana waited beneath the maple tree in the white suit I had approved. She had not worn the captain's hat. When Ben and I stood in front of her, she opened a small notebook. "Welcome," she said. "We are here under applicable state law, not maritime law, despite several compelling arguments." Everyone laughed. My body loosened. Dana spoke about us without pretending she had discovered the secret meaning of our relationship. She said I made lists because I cared what happened to people. She said Ben waited because he understood that patience was active, not empty. She also said both qualities became annoying when taken too far. Then she closed the notebook. "You wrote your own vows," she said. "Claire, you're first." I looked at Ben. For once I had no paper. I spent a long time thinking love was something I proved by being useful, I said. "You were the first person who made me feel loved when I wasn't fixing anything." Then I kept fixing anyway, because I didn't know how to stop. Ben smiled through tears. "I can't promise I'll never make a list you didn't ask for. I already have one in the car." Everyone laughed again. "But I promise I won't confuse managing our life with choosing it. I'll ask what you mean. I'll tell you what I mean. And when other people are loud, I won't make you wait until everyone else is comfortable before I choose us." Ben took both my hands. His vows were shorter. "I believed someone else's version of you once," he said. I won't do it again, not because you can never frighten or confuse me, but because you deserve to be asked. I promise to listen to your answer, even when it isn't the one that calms me fastest. I promise to carry things before you turn them into a spreadsheet. And I promise that if I ever say I know too many times, you can charge me $1. Retroactively? I asked. Absolutely not. Dana cleared her throat. Do you two need mediation? No, we said together. We exchanged rings. When Dana pronounced us married, nobody's phone rang. Nobody appeared at the gate. No voice interrupted to explain what I secretly wanted. Ben kissed me beneath the wet maple leaves. 14 people cheered like 150. At the folding table, the napkins were plain cream. The food came in mismatched serving dishes. Dana had ordered too much bread. Denise made a toast about office supplies and nervous breakdowns, then gave me the conference pen so we could use it to sign the marriage license. You held this when the first wedding ended, she said. Seems fair. I signed Claire Mercer in blue ink. Ben signed beneath me. Rena served cake as the string lights came on. Lemon frosting got on Ben's cuff. Dana put on the captain's hat after dinner and declared the dance floor international waters. It was not the wedding I had planned. I did not spend 1 minute wishing it were. We stayed until the garden lights blurred and my feet hurt. Ben carried my shoes to the car. I carried a box containing 2 slices of cake and the conference pen. At home, the house looked exactly as we had left it. 2 coffee mugs in the sink, toast crumbs on the counter, the empty room's door open. I changed into sweatpants and sat beside Ben on the bed while we turned on our phones. There were no missed calls from Elaine. 1 voicemail. I looked at Ben. Do you want to hear it? He asked. Yes. I put the phone on speaker. My mother's voice filled the room. Claire, I know today is the day. Sophie did not tell me where. Your father does not know either, or he is finally better at keeping things to himself. She paused. I thought about calling Rena. I didn't. I don't know if that means anything to you, but I didn't. Another pause. I heard her take a breath. I hope the weather cleared. I hope Ben looked at you the way he did the first time you brought him to dinner. I hope you were happy. I love you. I'm sorry I wasn't someone you could trust to be there. The message ended. Ben didn't say anything. I saved it. Then I sent Elaine 1 photograph. Rena had taken it beneath the maple tree just after the ceremony. Ben and I were looking at each other, not the camera. Her reply came several minutes later. You look beautiful, both of you. I wrote, we were happy. I'm still not ready to see you. The typing dots appeared, disappeared, returned. I don't understand all of this, she wrote, but I hear you. I set the phone down. Sophie's message contained no question. Congratulations, Mrs. Holt. I'm glad you chose him. Rick had written, proud of you both. Tell Ben his cuff is crooked. I laughed. What? Ben asked. I showed him. He looked at his sleeve in the photograph. That man has a gift. We ate the leftover cake in bed with 2 forks and no napkins. Do you want to open the wedding laptop tomorrow? Ben asked. Why? We should probably close the account. I thought about the deleted messages, the red cells, the date that had belonged to someone else. Then I looked at the ring on Ben's hand. Not tomorrow, I said. Okay. Outside our bedroom, the empty room waited with its door open. My mother remained beyond a boundary she had not chosen. My father had apologized without purchasing his way across it. My sister was rebuilding something with me, 1 honest payment and 1 unanswered request at a time. None of it was finished. For once, it didn't need to be. Ben reached for the last bite of cake. I moved the box out of his reach. Ask me, I said. He smiled. Do you want to split that? No. He nodded and let my answer stand.